Hello and welcome everyone to the final day of the Lyon Chess Festival of 2020. Yeah, it was exciting chess so far in the semifinals, and yeah, today you are stuck with me as your commentator. I know in the previous days it was Simon Williams. We'll do our best to fill his excellent shoes, and I am very happy to be here today with Grandmaster Anna Muzichuk. Hi, Anna. How are you doing?
Hello, Roland. Hello, everyone. Hi, dear viewers. I am doing fine. It's great to comment the final of Leon Masters, featuring two very strong grandmasters, Lenier Dominguez and Jaime Santos Latasa.
Yeah, they had a tough competition, a tough few days of chess before this, before reaching the finals. And actually, before we go into that, let's take a quick look at how the format was. So we had two semifinals, two matches, and yeah. So what we're having today, the matches are more or less the same as in the previous days. We'll have four rapid games of 20 minutes and 10 seconds per move. And if there's no decision in the rapid games, then we'll have blitz games. And if there is no decision, then we'll move to an Armageddon game. And I'm so hoping for an Armageddon game. That would be awesome. But
You,
yeah, who are you
you
rooting
are a
for?
bit cruel.
Why? It's good. We want action. We want to see exciting chess. And what is more exciting than Armageddon games, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to mention that both players, both Lenier and Jaime, they managed to get to the final by beating Parham Aksoglu and Alexei Shir, respectively. But what a thrilling matches they had! Especially yesterday's match between Lenier and Parham was truly heartbreaking. I believe many of our viewers today also followed the streams in the previous days, so they know what was happening, how things were developing, and enjoyed the fight.
Exactly. Yesterday was so intense. At some point, I really was thinking that the match was over. I was thinking, like, when I was watching the stream here, I was like, okay, yeah, no point in watching anymore. This is going to be a clean sweep for Lenia Dominguez. But yeah, Parham showed great resilience. Also, with one of my favorite openings, the Dutch. I was so happy to see that. And yeah, and it was so exciting. I mean, in the Blitz, first Parham won, and then Lenia Dominguez came back with also great resilience. It was really great fun to watch there, and also the last Armageddon match. Yeah, and did you watch also the Armageddon game, the last one?
Yes, I completely share your views. I started following yesterday's match from game two, and when it ended, it was like 2-0 for Dominguez, and I thought, well, it must be match over, clear win for Lenier, so no point even to follow the next games, but I kept an eye, and then I saw Perhan won one game, and then I was like really interested what would happen in game four. And suddenly Perham wins the last game in a must-win situation with black pieces. And that was awesome. He leveled the score. Moreover, when it came to blitz games, he won the first blitz games. And now it was like Dominguez, who was in the situation who had to win the game on demand. But now I thought, well, after losing three games in a row, he must be tilted and most probably Parham will win this game. But no, the match was going on. Dominguez won the last game. The match was tied and everything was decided in Armageddon. And not only in Armageddon, but it was decided in the last seconds because it was such an intense match, and so many things, so many interesting things were happening in the game. Lots of tricks, interesting combinations. Those who didn't follow the games, you may check the videos again, check the games because they were really thrilling and exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And Anna, were you also thinking that Parham was maybe going to flag Lenia Dominguez in that Rook and Knight endgame? Because that
I was thinking about it. They were sorry, sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, no, I was saying that because in online chess, we actually, for example, in Title Tuesdays, we see a lot of rook versus rook endings, and that one of the players is going to flag the other one just by pre-moving and playing really fast. And my question was like, did you think that yesterday that was going to happen in that rook versus knight endgame?
I was really worried about that because it was rook versus knight and a pawn. But uh, looking at the time situation, it was something like 6 seconds for per ham, while Dominguez had 12. But then it was coming closer and closer, and I think it was in the end 4 seconds for per ham and 6 seconds for Dominguez. And I was really worried because I know Porham is known to be a good bullet player. He really plays a lot of games in Blitz, so he must be much more experienced player. But Dominguez managed to hold, and I believe it was for the better because to flag the opponent, for me, it's not the way I would like to win the match. I would prefer to show my supreme over, like showing a better play.
Yeah, and I just got confirmation that the players are ready to go. We are going to wait for the games, but what is very nice is that we can see actually their player cams, so that we can see their emotions, how they are actually, experiencing the game. And yeah, who are you rooting for? Who do you think is the favorite in this match?
I'm rooting for exciting games. I can't say I'm rooting for some particular player, but I think Dominguez is the favorite. He's higher rated player, though nothing is clear. I think Dominguez should try to win in the rapid games because if it comes to Blitz, um, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, it's a tough question, yeah. And actually, they have started their games, and it's a 1d4 opening, and I think it's a sort of Catalan, right? Do you recognize the opening, Anna?
Yeah, of course, the Catalan, this line with d takes c4, a6, rook b8. I can say that speaking about women's chess is the favorite line of Alexandra Kosteniuk. I think she plays it very successfully with black pieces, especially this line.
So you know a thing or two about this opening then.
Uh, I don't know what to think about. I don't play d4 with white, and I don't play this line with black. But I know that this opening is very sharp. Computer usually says there is advantage for white, but it's not clear, and it's a very theoretical line. You really need to know theory precisely because black is sacrificing some material, though white had to give its light squared bishop, and now the king is a bit exposed, so they must be very careful.
Exactly. Yeah, white won a pawn here on e5, but black has good compensation for the bishop pair. And yeah, attacking possibilities on the king side. Yeah, they are blitzing out the move, so I'm expecting that this is all preparation from both players. Yeah, bishop c3 came to mind because yeah, you're attacking the rook and attacking the pawn, but they're just blitzing out the moves. We don't even have the time to address all the things here. I mean, white sacrificed an exchange without flinching an inch there, and black is now sacrificing a piece here without flinching an inch. So yeah, what do we make of that? I mean, is this going to be a theoretical draw? That is what I'm guessing. Like they both know that this line is okay for them. So yeah. What are your first thoughts here? Do you like black or do you like white?
Uh, it's really interesting. I don't know who is better and what's the evaluation of this line, but taking into account the moves were played very quickly, I think both players are still in the theory, but they now white is taking time, so perhaps Jaime is trying to recall the lines to remember what should be played.
Mhm.
Lots of sacrifices were already in the game. Black sacrificed the pawn, now white sacrificed an exchange. Black came up with the idea h5, h4, which is a very typical idea in this line. And now it's time for white to take a decision because black is trying to attack, trying to mate immediately from the opening, and that's how this line usually develops. White
Mm.
played queen d4. Uh, Maybe they could take on g4, but look what's happening. Knight f2, rook f2, a takes g3.
Oh my God,
Amazing
what
stuff.
is this?
Rook f4.
Look
Maybe we are
at it.
still in the theory, but I don't know.
Knight takes f2 in one, immediately played even. So, okay, we can definitely be sure that Lenier Dominguez is still in theory. And rook f4 also played very quickly by Hemme. So, okay, it makes sense to sacrifice the knight. Let's go back one more move. Because, okay, the knight is attacked, and okay, you could also maybe opt for just taking, and then moving the knight back. But I'm guessing that the idea is that after a move like g4, white just has very good compensation for the exchange there, with the ideas of maybe perhaps playing something like f4, f5, putting a knight here. I'm guessing that's the idea, and that is why Lenier Dominguez decided to sacrifice with knight takes f2. And actually, I have to refresh. Apologies there. And okay, that was really dumb. Just a little sec. Mm,
I agree. In my opinion, it was not pleasant to play with a knight on h6, and white had an easy plan with moving f4, f5, as you have mentioned, or moving the knight to e4, then to c5. In that case, white could have brilliant knights on the outpost, easy play, easy attack. That's not what black should aim for. And
yeah,
now black is taking time after rook f4. So what is Linear thinking about to take on h3?
yeah. What moves come to mind? I think taking on h3, yeah, makes the most sense. But maybe there is some. I mean, what does black have? Okay. I think he was wondering about taking on d4 or not.
Yeah, include or not to include this exchange of the queens.
Mhm.
But what I'd like to point is that Linear is known to be a very good he's theoretically prepared very well. He has been working with Fabiano Caruana for a long time, and they were preparing for the World Championship match and then for the candidates. So his knowledge of theory must be on a very high level. Therefore, these sharp lines should suit him well
Mhm.
because by computer's evaluation, they should be good. If Linear is playing them, then it,
Then we
it's
can
like the
trust.
sign of the quality.
Yeah, but okay, what about Gemme then? Yeah, from the previous matches, I think he likes to go for quiet games. For example, he played the Exchange Slav against Shirov in his match there. So I totally I like this way of playing by Dominguez by going for something extremely sharp and not that positional. I mean, even with the black pieces, though, I mean, you could also argue that Linia Dominguez is really taking a big risk here, going for a very sharp line with the black pieces. Yeah, it's a big consideration, but I do think that the way of play really might not suit Gemma in the best way. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not so sure. I would even say it was the right opening choice because I know Jaime a little bit. I played a game against him in 2018 Spanish League, and
Mhm.
Jaime is known to be the person who is playing instantly or very quickly, even if it's a classical game. So he doesn't really like to spend a lot of time. He doesn't want to give to delve too much into the details. He prefers to make some solid move and then kind of outplay his opponent by understanding. But also, yeah, he has an eye for tactical tricks. But if the position is as complicated or too much complicated, then I think he doesn't like such things. Maybe I am wrong, but that was my impression.
Yeah, I got the same impression from the first day. I do think actually that we're going into more quiet waters right now because, for example, if black takes on h3, then white can play a move like knight f3, and I don't really see a breakthrough for black. I think that white has everything under control. Uh, yeah, maybe after rook takes h3, black is going to play a move like g5. Yeah, it's. I do think that if whites can consolidate, then maybe white should be better. But yeah, like you said, it's a really theoretical battle, and of course, Dominguez knows what he's doing, right?
Yeah, they keep on playing relatively quite quickly. I think now it's again the choice if black should take on d4 or not, and to take on h3 with the bishop or with the rook. Also the question.
Yeah, taking with the bishop, then you take on g3, and yeah, what's your next move then?
Maybe take on d4, e takes d4,
Mhm.
and then I'll have to move the bishop somewhere to open the h file for the rook. Maybe bishop c8 is threatening something like rook h3 followed by rook d3, attacking the pawns, because with the rook you have to activate your rook. If it's passive, it doesn't have the same value as when it's attacking.
Yeah, you could also take on h3 with the rook immediately. Yeah, I'm not sure if that really helps. Well, you do protect this pawn for a little while at least. Yeah,
Uh,
it's a very messy game, definitely.
Though, like rook h3, knight f3, controlling everything, now it's really difficult to enter somewhere with the rook and to
Yeah,
attack.
I was thinking a move like g5, but with the idea that if you then take and then play rook h2, perhaps, I don't know. You could
Like,
also, what other
can we
idea?
move the pieces on the board, or
Yeah, let's, well,
that it's more understandable for the viewers?
I understand, yeah, but the last time I did that, something went wrong, so I'm a little worried about making a move there.
Oh
My
no, then in the end you should press this bottom, how to say,
mm,
um, which one is almost next to the settings. Then it comes back.
evaluation, or do you mean lines?
No, not where the evaluation is. How to explain?
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, later on. So we will.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a rapid game. Dominguez is taking his time right now. Yeah. Do you think that Linier is a good blitz player or a good rapid player? Like in comparison to the youngsters nowadays? Because, for example, Parham, who played yesterday against Dominguez, is known to be a very, very good internet blitz player. He has won many title Tuesdays, and Dominguez doesn't have that reputation. So I'm wondering, like, what his skill is in blitz. Obviously, that's extremely good, but is he also known to have a good blitz style? Maybe I should say it like that.
I didn't hear anything about linear skills in Blitz online, but yesterday he proved to be a decent Blitz player, and in fact, he managed to be quite quick, while in the rapid games he was quite slow, and one game or even two games he lost on time. So it was really painful, especially in the second one. He spent kind of too much time in the middle games, and then he didn't have enough time to calculate all the consequences when it came to blitz. And sometimes, I think in 2 games he was down to less than 10 seconds, and then it was really difficult to defend, to find the correct moves.
Hmm. Yeah, so black played the way you suggested, taking with the bishop and then moving the bishop back to e6. So what's the material like? Black has 5 pawns, white has 4. So yeah, material is like a rook and a pawn versus a knight and another knight. So 2 knights for a rook and a pawn. Which, yeah, what would you prefer in this position? Would you prefer black or white?
Difficult to say. I suggested bishop c8, but Lanier played bishop e6, and I think it's even better. I thought about bishop c8 just in case white goes knight e4, knight c5, and then attack the a6 pawn, so to move the bishop to c8, so that it's already protected, but it's too complicated.
Like this, yes.
You may
Uh,
put the bishop on e6 and then move it to d5. Or now knight e4 is not even possible. Maybe it is, because after rook h3, there is still king d2, and we can't take the knight on c4 because the rook on h3 will be hanging. So we
exactly.
can't win the piece this way. Speaking about material, yeah, black has 5 pawns, but they have a problem that these c6 and c7 pawns are doubled. If, let's say, one of them was staying on b7 and another one on c7, it would be much better. But the position is as it is. So it's a minus for black. Also, the white has a very strong outpost on c5. Thanks to these double pawns. So the position is very balanced and very unclear. Maybe objectively, according to the evaluation, it's more or less equal. Maybe it's easier to play with black because with black you're attacking. With white, you have to be more precise and you have to take care about how to stabilize the position. Well, it's not so easy.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I was before rook h1. I was actually thinking maybe white is better because of the weak pawns on, like you said, on the queen side. But white is also, yeah, white also has to take care of his weaknesses. So rook a1 is kind of a threat. So yeah, a move like bishop b2 makes sense, I suppose. Then maybe rook b1. I don't know. How would black continue here?
Rook a1 is a huge threat, so white has to take care of that. The bishop from a3 has to move somewhere so that after rook a1, we can.
You could also play a move like, yeah, like bishop c5, for example. Yeah.
Bishop c5 or bishop b4, rook a1 and a3. But knight e3 was played, and that means Jaime isn't so concerned about rook a1. What did he prepare?
What is his idea there? So after rook a1, what happens here? Is he going to trap the rook somehow?
That was my thought, how to trap the rook, but I don't see the way.
No, I was thinking knight c2, rook takes a2, and then knight e1. So
Knight
then rook
e1, but bishop
yeah,
b3.
bishop takes b3, and now white is in huge trouble. So let's take a look. So rook a1, the big question. What happens here? Maybe he just doesn't care about that pawn. But then, yeah, I mean, you could also have played here a move like bishop b2 to try and, yeah, keep the pawn. And after a move like rook b1, you have knight d2 without a problem. Yeah, this move, yeah, I don't really know what yeah, what White's idea is with 93 there. Yeah, it's maybe we'll find out.
I'm really wondering what was prepared. because I don't see the reason of giving the a2 pawn. There are not so many pawns, better to keep them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a pawn is a pawn, right?
um,
Maybe, okay, I have maybe an idea here. So after rook a1, bishop c5, rook takes a2, b4. Maybe white is saying, okay, you cannot continue. I have total control over the position. I'll gladly give the pawn because black does not really have any ways of making progress here. I mean, the pawns are stuck on the c file. If a5, then b takes a5. So black is a bit searching for counterplay in this position. Maybe it's just a very good positional answer after the move knight e3.
but I wouldn't agree because I think that if you play bishop c5 and you give this a2 pawn, then you play b4, a5, let's say, we trade the pawns, and maybe it's equal, but by playing knight e3, white says white is not any better. In the worst case, black will lately play f6, trade also the e5 pawn for f6 pawn,
Yeah.
and the game will soon end in a draw.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I think that this was not the most ambitious choice for white. But if he has this availability, then the availability of 93, then there must be something better. Then maybe there is something better for white, and white could play for a win here. But I don't know how. Okay, it actually came on the board, but let's move. Okay, and f6 was played like you suggested. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we could argue that a draw is most likely in this case. Although, I don't know. Let's say, yeah, white takes should be normal. Isn't there Zugzwang at some point? I mean, the knights are perfectly placed for white, I believe. But after a move like king of seven, maybe the knights have to move somehow to maybe awkward squares. It's not.
Maybe
Oh,
white.
maybe black is better. Yeah, knight h4. Okay, it makes sense to try and put it on f5.
Or maybe just to stay, because the knights on f3 and on e3, they control lots of squares, so white can also make some waiting moves like king f4, then king g3 back, if
Yeah,
they just wanna stay.
I agree there. Yeah. Although, for example, if let's say I make a dumb move, then after king f4, rook h2, if you go back, then I win a piece with rook h3. So
Cool.
it's not. Yeah, I mean, if this was blitz, then black could like yeah make moves like this, try to play for tricks like this. But okay, this is not blitz. This is rapid. So yeah, I agree. I think that white should be more or less fine here. I mean, Gemme has enough moves enough moves to make waiting moves. Yeah, I agree.
Now after knight g6, be careful, don't go king d7 because that would lose a piece after knight f8. But if you make any other move, the position should be close to equal. And I believe I would suspect that this game will soon end in a draw.
Yeah, I was afraid of this because in such sharp opening lines, usually if both players play correct, then yeah, the computer just evaluates it as 0-0-0 somehow. But yeah, yeah, and in this game, I don't know. Well, who do you think would be most happy with the draw here? I mean, Dominguez played a huge theoretical line, while Gemme was also playing really theoretical. Yeah, I'm wondering who got out of book first. Who was the one to make a move with his own thoughts and not with preparation?
I think Jaime was the first one who started spending time, but he spent only like 1 minute or something like that. So perhaps he was still in the preparation. And
Mm,
then Dominguez was really thinking, was really taking quite a lot of time when there were all these trades of the queen and then of the queens and then of the rooks on d4. So maybe he had on his nose that the relation is equal, I would suspect, and he was just trying to find the most precise way to do that.
okay. we've got knight g6 on the board, so white is hoping for the king d7 move that we just showed, but that's probably not going to happen. And yeah, king f7 makes a lot of sense here. Yeah, knight f4 played.
And you know what's amusing? Because I'm also following on the face expressions of the players, and it's like Dominguez is like this, not moving at all, while Jaime is moving every 2 seconds. I believe he's such an active guy. He prefers
Yeah,
to make it more exciting, and he's ahead on the clock.
I sometimes get the impression that Jaime is always bored. Like he's looking everywhere except for his screen, and Dominguez is completely focused. We saw that yesterday in his match against Shirov, where Jaime was doing the same thing, and Shirov was also like really focused on the board. But I'm sure that his heart is racing, or yeah.
That's true. Oh, finally you made the move. Finally, some rook b5. So I'm coming back. Let's think for 10 seconds. And yeah, of course, even less. King f2.
Yeah. Does white have a plan, perhaps? I mean, is king f2 with the idea to go to the queen side somehow? Like, I don't know, with moves like this. Nope, he's going back. Okay, it was just a move. Maybe now a draw of king f2, rook b2, and yeah.
Because this way is really a bit too long, and even if you bring your king to a5, it doesn't do much there. And if you start bringing the knights to attack these pawns, then f pawn may start running, and that would be unpleasant. So you have the first game finished. The game ended in a draw. 3 games to follow with a rapid time control. Lots of interesting games are coming.
Yeah, exactly. This is only the start, a very heavy theoretical opening as the beginner game. So, yeah, I'm hoping that we get to see more of that. But we are taking a short break, everybody. Don't go anywhere. We'll be soon back with game 2 of the finals.
Exactly. See you shortly.
All right, welcome back everyone to once again the final day of this tournament. Yeah, it's a tournament where which is part of a bigger festival. So here we've got also the schedule for the next events that are scheduled, and yeah, a lot of exciting stuff in this Lyon uh, Chess Festival. Yeah, it's great that such events are taking place, obviously. So and yeah, the games between Lenny Dominguez and Santos will start shortly. Yeah, I mean it's the times are crazy, right? With yeah with this pandemic that we're dealing with, and it's great that online chess took such a big jump and that the tournament actually could continue because in previous years it was an over the board event, but because of the pandemic, of course, they now switched it to online chess. And yeah, I'm very happy to see that, of course.
Definitely, I am very happy too, and I'm very glad that Corona pandemic didn't prevent the organizers of the Leon Masters from launching the 33rd, I believe, edition of the traditional yearly event. So the tournament has a long history. And moreover, besides this main event, there is also an open tournament. There are simultaneous. There are lots of activities. I think the open tournament starts tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. So anyone can take part. It will be also an online tournament, and it's really good because we all know that the times are difficult and it's not easy to host an event, but they did. So the tradition continues. Nice to see that even though they couldn't organize it over the board, the tournament is going on online. Many people are watching, and we simply love it.
Yeah, before the stream, we had a small talk about yeah how we miss over the board yeah events and games like this. How is that for you, Anna?
For me, it's interesting because I wouldn't say that I am missing the over the board tournaments so much. I have had so many of them during my whole career. And when there were tournaments, I mean, before the pandemic, I was playing quite a lot. I'm an active player, so I had nearly 10 tournaments a week, and that's really a lot with lots of pressure as uh, I have been a top player for definitely more than 10 years. So each tournament, each point is so much important, and there is very also you have to prepare for the tournaments. That's all very intense and takes a lot of time. And now we are kind of taking a break from the tournaments. While we do take part in some of the online events, but also not so often. Though I keep on working on chess, and I also started to try myself. I gave myself a try in another activities, like I started to run my Twitch channel. I started to do some other things, but I really miss talking with my friends. I really love our chess community. So if I had an opportunity to travel and to meet some of them, that would be really nice.
Yeah, that's exactly the same for me. I'm also missing the traveling sometimes, and yeah, the actual company instead of the online games where you don't see everybody. But yeah, I was going to say something. Ah, your Twitch channel, of course. Yeah, how's that going for you?
My Twitch channel, it's so much fun. I opened a Twitch channel a bit more than 2 months ago, and I really love sharing some of the experience or playing the games with my viewers, with my subscribers, explaining some of the things, commenting the games. By the way, here in the last 2 months, I had an opportunity to try to comment. And this is thankful to Chess.com because before I didn't have such an opportunity, but I have wished to try it for a long time. So I'm really happy and now I can also try myself in this direction, and I like it. I like it so much. I think I will continue it even if we start over the board tournaments. I will not leave it completely. Maybe I'll do less streams, but I'll definitely keep an eye on my Twitch channel.
Yeah, a little bit of promotion there, but there you go. Everybody do follow Anna on our Twitch channel.
Thank.
And yeah, it's time to talk about the game. Yeah, it's a Spanish, so it started with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. And yeah, this is the mainline Spanish, and white chose to play the move d3, which in my book is not the most ambitious, but it's definitely a very solid choice from the white side. What do you think about this opening?
The main move is rook e1 instead of d3, and I believe there are much more games with rook e1, though d3 is very popular too, and recently it's seen very often. We saw some of the games in the candidates tournament and on many other top level events. So d3 is a serious alternative, especially after the move bishop e7, because d3 is also possible on move 5 instead of castling. But that's after, if you play d3 immediately, it's not necessarily black will later on put the bishop on e7. There is also a possibility to play d6 and then develop the bishop from f8 to g7. The setup is, yes, g6, bishop g7. So it's considered better to start with castle, and only after black defines where the bishop goes, and in this case it goes to e7, then we go with d3, so that limits black's opportunities.
So that black cannot develop the bishop to g7 anymore. Yeah, it's a very common idea to wait before bishop e7 instead. You do allow the knight takes e4 opening, which was briefly popular, I believe, by Caruana in 2012 until 2015 again. But lately it watered, and I think theoretical discussions are not being followed anymore of knight takes e4. I think it transferred to the Marshall gambit now. But okay, let's continue with the d3 opening. So bishop e7, b5, bishop b3, d6, a4. And here bishop d7. Yeah, so white continued with bishop e3. And after short castle, takes, knight c3. Yeah, this knight c3 move is the extra move that white has at this disposal, right? That is one of the points of moving the pawn to d3 instead of the pawn to c3 first. So this is now an extra option in this opening. Yeah,
Another possible setup was probably to play c3, knight d2, and d4, but I believe in that case white shouldn't take on b5 and not open the line.
In this variation, yeah. So here's c3 followed by knight d2. Yeah. And probably actually h3, because let's say black plays a move like h6, knight bd2. Here black has knight g4, gaining the bishop pair with knight takes e3. So h3 is normal. And
yeah, first h3, then knight d2, trying to push d4.
Yeah.
Typical setup.
Yeah, it's a very modern line, isn't it? I think back in the, what is it, before the 2000s, before this century, I think almost everyone went for the rook e1 line and not the d3 line. So it's a pretty modern opening, isn't it?
It is also, instead of a4, there is a setup with a3, where Nepomniachtchi won a very important game in the candidates. And in fact, Dean had a problem in a couple of games after a3. And a4 is another direction also possible. It's like people are trying some line, then they find some ideas in another direction. They are trying that line, then sometimes they are coming back to that line, then they switch again to another one. So it's always evolving, and it's the question of finding the ideas.
Exactly. That's how theory usually goes. Yeah. Yeah. If the line gets refuted or if it has a great answer at the moment, then they try to move to the next one to try and make it difficult for the opponent. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's move on to the game. So what happened? So white chose to play a4 here. Bishop d7, bishop e3, short castle, takes, knight c3. What black played knight a5, and here white went for knight d5, which could knight d5. Okay.
Uh, what about knight b3 was not possible because rook takes a8, queen takes a8, and intermediate move knight e7 winning the piece because it goes with the check, the king moves, and then we take the knight on b3.
And your
So
piece up.
that was really bad for black. Therefore, the bishop on b3 was not taken. And in general, knight takes e7 might kind of be a threat because by this white gains the two pair bishop advantage, though.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, so instead black took to not allow this taking of the bishop. And after taking c6, bishop a2, black played c5, bishop d5, bishop c6, and now the move b4. Wow. Okay, what do you think about that?
to be
It's
honest, I am not sure about c5 because after c5, this bishop gets such a juicy square on d5. Maybe black had to wait with that. I understand that the knight on a5 is a bad piece, and by playing c5, black wanted to kind of bring the knight to c6 and then to d4, closer to the center. But given such a square to a bishop is also not what they like, maybe instead of c5, something like knight b7 was interesting, just a suggestion. Well, anyway, let's go back to the game. c5 was played.
exactly
Bishop,
bishop d5,
bishop
bishop d6, and now the move b4.
Now the move
Temporary,
b4.
yeah, a temporary pawn sacrifice, I think, with the idea that if you take, I think the white's going to try and get the pawn back with a move like queen d2, or maybe even a move like queen b1. And I like that white allows black to take on d5 because if you do that, for example, after queen b1, bishop takes d5, e takes d5, the knight cannot do the maneuver that you just mentioned, and it's a lot harder for the knight to get into play. And also not to mention that this pawn on b5 could become quite weak. For example, after knight b7, queen takes b4. Yeah, black is already a bit in trouble. So my first impression of this b4 move is that it's pretty good.
It's a very good idea, in my opinion, too. Moreover, it was the same position happened in the game, just it was transposed. First, black started with taking the bishop on d5, and then they took the pawn on b4.
Yeah, exactly.
After
So
queen b1, b3 was played, black didn't want to allow queen coming to b4 and attacking the b5 pawn.
yeah, and this is the current position that we have. So after queen b1, b3, c takes b3 was played. Huh.
The main problem in black's position is the knight on a5. It's on the rim. Just imagine the knight is on f6 and black would be better because the pawn on d5 wouldn't be a strength, but it would be a weak pawn. While with the knight on a5, the pawn on d5 controls the c6 square and it's difficult to bring the knight into the game. If black played knight b7 instead of b4, white could think about blocking the knight by playing b4.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, this knight is much better than this knight at this point. This knight has a lot of future on f3. It could, for example, reroute itself to a nice square, maybe to attack on c3 to try and attack the b5 pawn, for example. Yeah, I agree. I think
b4.
white has an advantage there, but what black does have some space on the king side. Doesn't that compensate a little bit for the weak knight on b7, or doesn't not really matter?
But you know, if you attack on that side, you have a piece less because your knight on a5 doesn't take part in this attack. So
Hmm.
f5 may be played, but what's next? G5, G4, F4.
Yeah, let's go. Right. I mean, didn't Carlsen play like this in his match against Caruana at some point? He also played like this. The game was a bit similar, not from the same opening, but this idea with f5 and g5 is definitely something to consider here. Yeah,
In Carlsen's game versus Caruana, I believe that occurred from Sveshnikov, but
yeah,
in the end, it was considered a bad idea because he was losing at some moment. So even in that game, it wasn't a success.
that's true. Yeah, that position was. Yeah, I think the g5 plan was okay, but not in the right move order there, or something.
Something like
Maybe it
that.
was just in general bad. Yeah, I don't remember. It's a long
And the
time.
e file was open there, so there was no e pawn for black. There
Yeah.
were some differences.
Maybe it wasn't a good comparison in that case. But I agree. I think in this position, this plan is way too slow because white, the queen side is open. The rooks can come in, for example, to c6, where it stands very perfectly, and rook b6, for example, you can already take a pawn then. Yeah, I think also too many pieces are going to get exchanged, and it's very hard to get an attack going from black. Yeah, okay, but in the position knight b7 did not occur. Black played the move b4 as to the knight is now on a5. It is not pushed away to b7, and it is more or less attacking the b3 pawn. So did black create a weakness for himself there to attack in the long run?
What may think about something like bishop d2? I'm also thinking about d4 because if we manage to trade the pawns like e takes d4, knight d4, then the knight may later on jump to c6, and then it would be really dangerous for black. So I believe after d4, why Lanier is taking time and why he doesn't play it immediately. The problem may be with e4 perhaps. Or
Uh,
no,
be-
after e4, queen takes e4, and black can't take on b3 because we take the rook on a8 and we take the bishop on e7.
yep, that doesn't work. So it's
So that
probably
doesn't.
e4 then. Or it might be a pawn sacrifice. No, that would not work, yeah. No, just to keep the double pawns on the board, but the knight is still very bad on a5, so I don't believe that pawn sacrifice worked. What about this though? What about taking knight takes and just a move like bishop f6? Because the bishop does profit now from this exchange because it has a diagonal to work with now.
Bishop f6, then maybe something like rook a4, attacking the pawn on b4 and getting rid of this unpleasant pin.
Mhm. That makes a lot of sense, yeah. I'm trying to look for tactics, but I don't think there are any.
Also,
Yeah.
strategically, it's good because we have double pawns like on d5 and d3, and if we get rid of it, that shouldn't be so bad.
Mhm. And what about after d4, just a move like f6? Did you achieve anything there then?
d4, f6. Then your bishop on e7 is stuck a bit, but it's not like
Beautiful,
forever.
beautiful on e7, isn't it?
Amazingly beautiful. I really like it.
Hmm. It's a glorified pawn, as they say. Yeah, it doesn't it cannot go anywhere, and yeah, it's basically a pawn at this point. Yeah, yeah, I like your suggestion, d4. It's not so easy to counter. Yeah, and the tactics don't work with e4, so yeah, it's a good suggestion. What
What
else?
can other options? Yeah, maybe bishop d2, as we spoke about. Knight d2, knight c4 also. You pointed it, queen b6, maybe rook a4,
Yeah,
attacking it twice.
but okay, in that case, maybe d5 can get attacked. For example, with a move like queen b5. As
Sure.
to white wins the b4 pawn then, but black can win the d5 pawn then. And I think that white wants to keep the d5 pawn as to um, ah I have an idea
Maybe
though. Queen
maybe it
h6.
was logical to start with rook a4 first, because in that case, black wouldn't have a chance to play queen b6 as the bishop was on e3.
That makes sense. Okay, let me go back. I thought I had a good point here as well, but
No. But look at Jaime. He's really bored. He's yawning. Like, how long can you think? I mean, why aren't you moving? It's so funny.
but that's good that you mentioned that. Lenier is taking his time. He has 5 minutes less than his opponent there, so yeah. But okay, it's I think he's calculating the lines that we were thinking of. So and he goes for your move
He did
d4.
play d4.
Yeah. So this is a difficult move to take care of, as we already saw. But okay, I just want to briefly go back to your suggestion, rook a4, because it makes a lot of sense. You go for the b4 pawn, and you're also threatening to play queen a2 and rook a1, winning a piece on the a file. So I wonder what his thought process was here. How do you stop that? Maybe.
So if we go queen b8 with the idea that after bishop d2 we still have queen b5, but instead of bishop d2 we can play immediately queen a2 and then doubling the rooks.
Exactly, yeah. Although after knight b7, you cannot take on b4 because a rook takes a2. So yeah, and the knight is on the next move going back to c5. So maybe the bishop d2 move is better than queen a2, because now you are threatening to take on b4, and I don't see after queen b5, maybe now queen a2, because the knight now cannot move because of the pin on a8. And after queen takes d5, rook here. I think that Lenier was considering this line to see how it works, but he decided against it for some reason.
Maybe there was an idea of rook b8 or rook b5 and taking on d5 with the rook immediately after bishop d2 if you go a few moves back.
Okay, so instead of queen b8, then maybe here rook b8, you
Rook
mean?
b8, let's
Yes.
say bishop d2, rook b5.
Yeah. And now there's no pin if white plays queen a2 over the a file. Yeah, this makes sense. Black is going to take the pawn here, and then black would not have any problems in this position. I think we got the reason there. Okay, so d4 then. Hard to counter. I don't know how to do that, but black very quickly, it took 1 minute to think about this, played queen d7. So
I
a
think
lot.
that for Jaime it took a lot of time. It's more than 1 minute.
Yeah. For him, this is like 1 minute is an is
A
an
very serious decision.
yeah. I was gonna say a century or something, but
So
so
if we take the pawn on e5,
I'm
then
guessing.
black gets the d5 pawn, and that's not good for white because black will get rid of all their weaknesses. Then they are attacking the b3 pawn.
Yeah.
So bad
Yeah.
idea.
So what then? He could prepare it, for example, rook d1, with the idea that if black does something, that now you can take on e5 because d5 is now protected. This looks like it wins a pawn.
But after rook d1, there are plenty of possibilities to defend the pawn. Also f6, which you mentioned before, maybe played.
It's not.
Also e4. Now it's different because queen takes e4, knight b3.
Yeah, that's a good point.
After rook a8, we can take with the rook, and the
Yeah,
bishop is protected.
yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, we might try and win this pawn on b4, but I don't think it will happen after rook a3. And even if you win the b4 pawn, these two pawns are not the greatest pawns to have, so I'm starting to think. At first, my initial thought was that white was having a really good position, but the more and more I look at this position, it seems more or less fine for black. What do you think?
It's a complicated one, very complex position. Maybe some ideas of, well, of course, we have the ideas like rook a4 followed by queen a2. We have rook d1. We may think of taking on e5 followed by rook d1. There are so many possibilities for white. I still believe it's more pleasant to play it with white.
And let's take a look what he did. He took on e5, taking on e5, and then played rook d1. All right, so this pawn is now a passed pawn, and it's nicely protected by the rook on d1. The question is it going to be a dangerous pawn, or is it going to be a pawn that might be easily attacked by black?
In the middle game, it's usually a strong pawn, but when it comes to the end game, then it's a problem. And
Hmm.
speaking about this position, I believe that now black has to be careful with the idea something like d6, because we sacrifice this pawn, but after d6, bishop takes d6, there is a very annoying pin, and very often it ends up good for white and bad for black. So be careful with such things. Yeah, something like bishop c5 or
Yeah,
queen d3.
I'm trying, yeah, something like this, yeah. And now queen d3 and trying to make use of this. Yeah, but
Okay,
maybe.
it's not like the exact line, but I mean, I just wanted to point that people
Mhm.
have to be careful with this.
Exactly. It's an idea sometimes, d6, yeah. For now, I don't think it works. But okay, I'm also playing h6, which is not the most critical of this line. And by the way, black has to be careful about knight takes e5 first. That's the biggest question at this position. And yeah, a move that comes to mind right now is to just play a move like bishop d6 here
Bishop
and to
d6
try and
looks the
play.
most natural to me.
Yeah, but maybe knight g5. Is that a strange reaction there?
Knight g5.
Yeah, I'm not threatening anything, but maybe after the idea is that if you play f5 to protect against it, that you can play a move like knight e6, and to try and yeah, and just to have a really nice knight on e6. I don't think black should allow a knight there. So
No.
knight g5 might be a drawback of the bishop d6 move, because when the bishop was on e7, black had the option maybe to take on g5.
Yes, but how to defend the e5 pawn? Otherwise, you don't really want to play queen d6 because queen is known to be not a good blocking piece.
Yeah, f6. The move. Yeah, the next move I was going to suggest. It protects against knight g5, and it protects the pawn. And since the bishop now has some more freedom than in the other position, it makes a lot of sense to play like this.
f6 is definitely a very sensible move, but f6 weakens the e6 square a little bit and light squares in general.
Hmm.
So it's also a little bit difficult to make a move like f6.
Hmm. Yeah, it's not the most pretty move now. Ideally, you want to keep the pawns on a different the different color than your bishop. So but yeah, black did not have the time to play f5 and bishop d6, which he would have preferred because of this knight g5 move there, I believe. So, okay, what's white's plan at the moment? So we could check this d6 move that we already took a look at. Maybe there's some difference now because f6, maybe there are some checks that we now can make use of on the white side.
Like on d5. But I think it's first easier to speak about black's plans because black's plan, I
Sure.
believe, is brewing the knight from a5 to d6. If black could just play knight b7, knight d6, and white does nothing, that would be a serious improvement. Also, the knight may follow with the roots something like knight b5 and c3. Why not? Imagination is huge, but you need 5 temples for that.
Yeah.
And white will not wait.
No, white has to be careful, yeah. Like, for example, white could also maybe reroute his knight to c4 and then try to make use of this d6 pawn. Yeah, I think I do prefer sorry, white at the moment, but it's a very complicated position. I don't know exactly how to continue.
Let's try making d6 work because it's very concrete, and if it works, it's great for white.
Always a challenging move. Bishop takes d6. I guess we should follow up with a move like queen e4, right? With the threat of queen d5 and pinning the knight one extra time. Because yeah, if the knight takes, then we can take the rook on a8 because it's protected by the queen. And actually also with queen d5 check, winning the knight once again on b3. So yeah, queen e4 makes sense. I think the biggest what black is going to do is maybe play knight b7 anyway to protect the d6 bishop.
Or king h8 is also useful because
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
if
just to get
I'm
out of this queen d5 threat. And then, okay, I
then
have,
bishop c5,
sorry, bishop
uh,
c5. Mhm.
because knight b7 can it be played just rook a8 taking on d6?
Yeah, and black cannot take back on d6 because the rook on a8 is hanging. d6
That's
looks,
true. Although black can still play something like rook a6 or rook d8. And considering the rook on d1 is unprotected, we can't move the bishop from d6. So
yeah,
what's going on?
there are no tricks here, yeah? Nothing like, no back rank problems for
Queen
black. Trying to
b4,
make a move like queen b8, but that is not possible, obviously.
queen f8. Come closer.
Yeah, or queen f8, indeed. It's not allowed, folks, but yeah. I'm trying to get the queen there somehow but I don't think I can.
Okay, you can play queen takes b4,
And then probably rook
rook
takes,
takes d6, rook takes d6,
queen takes, I suppose.
queen takes, because we can't take the knight as there is the mate on the back rank. Uh, anyway, the knight ending is slightly better for white because we have this passed pawn,
Yeah,
although it should be a draw.
should be a draw. I agree. Yeah. Wow, this is a long line. So is this the conclusion that d6 does not work? Or did we miss something? Ah, actually, we've got a move. Queen a2 played. Ah, that's a move I would not consider so quickly, but it makes sense. The idea is that if knight b7, then we can take on a8, winning two rooks for the queen. Yeah, that. What do you think about that exchange? It looks good for white, yeah?
I think it's also good that we have rook a7 in the end. So let's say if king f7 or bishop f8, this pin will be unpleasant.
Yeah, followed by d6 perhaps, or maybe the rerouting of the knight. Yeah, I like queen a2. I'm not sure how black is going to deal with that. I mean, you cannot move the rook because the knight will fall. And if you okay, maybe white doesn't threaten anything as well. So what if we just continue with a move like bishop d6? What is white's follow-up there?
Hmm. We can't play queen a4 because black will just take on a4 and then play knight b3.
Mhm.
Maybe knight d2, trying to bring the knight to e4.
Mhm. Or actually maybe just bishop b6 with the idea to grab the knight.
Bishop b6, yes. I didn't see that.
Maybe it's just attacking a pinned piece,
And
right?
if black plays bishop c7, then we simply take and we move our pawn d6. And when it comes to d6, it's very
They,
annoying.
yeah, and okay, you can block it, but then once again you have this problem with the rook on a8. So queen a2, that's a really annoying move to face, I believe. Okay, black responded queen b7, and white played the move. This is looking really good for white suddenly. I think that white has everything under control with the move d6, like you mentioned. if the pawn gets to d6, it's very, very hard for black to deal with. That pawn is going to be so annoying for black.
Now we can clearly say that it's a strong pawn. Black has to go to d8. I don't know why it wasn't played yet. Okay, finally it was played.
Yeah.
But that's what we wanted to do, to push the pawn to d6. Now let's try to push it to d7. One by one, closer.
Yeah, the rook can now move because the bishop is protecting the knight. So let's say a move like rook b8 with the idea to play knight c6.
Mm-hmm.
Do you? There are tactics in the area, like bishop c5 maybe, trying to win an exchange, but after rook f7, yeah,
But in general, it looks very suspicious. Black's pieces are so passive, there must be something for white.
I agree there. Yeah, I maybe yeah, but it's maybe d7 is a bit too early.
Maybe just rook c1, rook ac1, and if you go knight c6, then I bring the queen, queen d2, and threaten queen d5.
Mm.
It's just, but I thought after d7, rook b8, not immediately.
Okay.
Though also possible immediately. Because
Yeah.
if you have this pawn, my coaches, they taught me just push it as far as possible because it's like a very serious,
It's a dangerous pawn.
very dangerous pawn, right?
We do have to mention something, and that's the time difference. Linie Dominguez is taking so much time here. Do you think it's wise to spend so much time in a position like this?
Maybe it's wise because it's kind of crucial moments, and if he gets a huge advantage here, he will convert it.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
true.
Therefore, if he doesn't find anything seriously, and if he will just keep a slight advantage, or in the worst case, the position will be closer to equality, then of course he will run into troubles and something may happen like it was yesterday when he was down to seconds and then he couldn't find the best moves.
Yeah. Well, here it is. They do get 10 seconds increment per move. So, but yeah, even if you're down to like, let's say 20 seconds, would you be nervous when you only get 10 seconds per move, or would you be saying like, okay, that's good enough for me. I can finish a game with 10 seconds increment there. It's tough, right? It's a
I
tough.
think it depends on the position. If you are queen up, you will not be nervous. Otherwise, even with the piece up, it's still unclear.
Yeah, that's true. So, okay, so the goal for Lenier is to get a definite advantage, and then it doesn't matter how what the time difference is, because the position will then be easy to play for white.
That's
Yeah,
true.
by the way, after rook c8, knight c4 immediately played, knight takes c4 and b takes c4. So now white has two passed pawns and black has one passed pawn on b4. And b3 immediately played, following the advice of your coaches, push the pawn as far as you can. Yeah, I like white's position though. My initial thoughts are that the pawn is going to come to c5 at some point. Let's say a move like queen. Where shall we go? Maybe
a4,
a3 or
a3.
a4. Yeah, I want to attack the pawn with rook b1 and rook b3.
But on a3, we can take the c4 pawn or not.
That was
That's why maybe to move the queen to a4, and then we will follow with rook b1 or c5. And these connected post pawns
he
will be
played
dangerous.
he played rook db1 immediately.
Wow, what a move!
Didn't see that one coming. No. So
Brave one.
taking rook takes c4, and I guess you can take the a pawn now because There's no mate because the bishop is still protecting the c1 square. And white's going to follow up with rook a7. Did he calculate this brilliantly?
He
Seems.
spent quite some time, so I think that's the position he's aiming to get.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the end, yeah, if the rook comes to a7, if the rook comes to a7 and white gets two rooks on the 7th rank, it would be very dangerous. Rook f7 can't be played. As then, I believe rook b8, rook f8, or rook a8,
Yeah.
attacking the bishop, and the white is winning.
Wow, this is some next level calculation there. Rook db1. Well, my train of thought would be like, okay, we have a positional advantage. We've got 2 pawns. We can just start pushing it. We can just make use of this weakness on b3. Looks good, but no, he's saying like, no, we've got something better. Rook db1, exchange everything, and then go for the mate. That's some next level chess.
Maybe he spent too much time with Fabiano because this is the style of Fabiano. He's a very concrete player. He may give some advantage to the opponent, but if it's concretely going well, then he goes for it.
Okay, and we have this on the board. How will black deal with rook a7 now? That's the question. Maybe f5 and play bishop f6? Yeah. Okay, so now probably rook a7, bishop f6. Oh, can white play a move like bishop g5 then? No.
Bishop g5, it's really cool because bishop takes g5 doesn't work as we made with white.
We do not win the piece back. We're simply going for a standard mate here. Yeah, but
Maybe some idea with h6 attacking the bishop and
exactly.
bishop f6 cannot be played.
Yeah, because bishop takes f6, then rook c1 is a mate as well. So bishop g5 doesn't work, it seems.
Maybe bishop g5, h6, h4. Can we make something like that?
Oh, that would be beautiful. Oh, is he going for it? That would be awesome. h6, h4, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, Linear wants to mate.
Yeah, black still cannot take on g5 because of the mate with h7 and g7. Let's put that on the board once more. h4.
Beautiful mate on the board.
Wow. Suggestion there. Bishop f6 played. You could also argue that simply a move like h3 is okay, with the idea that you're just going to play bishop b6, d7, d8, and you win.
White has a huge activity.
But Ligné is... he played bishop... No, he did not. Yeah,
He did play. He did play, and h6 was played. So will h4 be played?
Come on.
Come on, go. That's really beautiful.
He has...
He did
Yes.
play. Yes.
Oh, wonderful. This is next level. I think he calculated this already when he played rook db1, don't you think?
And he just recalculated after this follow-up, right? Before going bishop g5.
He's checking if everything still works, and then he decides, yep, it works. I'm going to mate or queen. And
so is it winning, or does black have any defense?
I guess black has to take, yeah? Otherwise, bishop takes f6 and rook takes g7 with a winning endgame. So taking. But here, the same problem exists. Maybe a move like rook g4 with the idea of g takes and then g takes so that there's no check on g7 anymore.
Taken, yeah, because I think black couldn't take with the rook as there was a check, and d7, d8 just promotes.
So now we've got a problem with the promotion on d8. That is why g takes f6 is necessary. But here, after f3, the rook has to move back. And now this pawn has free range over here. Maybe d7 is probably a bit too early, but you could prepare it, for example, with a move like... Wait, does it work? Like if you play d7 rook, with the idea to play rook c7, rook c8, but then after rook d8, rook c7, king f8, black is just in time to protect the rook with king e7.
Or king f7 and then rook g8.
Yeah, or king
Also
f7,
possible.
rook g8, exactly. So, okay, white does have to be precise here. It's not that easy. And the position is still with h4. So black is thinking hard now. Gemma has to make a tough decision now. But I think rook g4 is the only way. I don't see anything else for black at the moment.
But it's very difficult to go for that line because with the rook on g6, it looks like black is a rook down. This rook on g6 is kind of out of play.
It feels
And you
like...
can't bring it into the game very quickly. There is no way.
It feels lost, but I don't see exactly how. Because if you
Can
play
we
a move
try rook e7? All right.
and then rook d8 again,
D8. Once again, after d7, there is king f8 just in time. Not easy.
yeah. So this position, white is in total control, absolutely. But there's no fixed win. Maybe it's positional. Maybe the king can just start moving upwards or something. No, but then rook takes g2. No. Okay.
Or maybe
It's
king f2, then f4, preventing the king moving, and then f5, and finally the rook is kind of coming into the game.
exactly. Yeah. Let's see if a move has been played. Not yet. So yeah, what do you think? Maybe black holds after rook g4. But it's so unpleasant, at least, yeah. It's like you are you can never win that position with black because all your pieces are stuck. The rook cannot move. Let's put it on.
Unless some mouse slip or some strategy.
Rooks can both not move. For example, if rook, let's say king f2, rook d8, you're not even threatening rook takes d6 because of rook b8 mate. So this, at least psychologically, this is very tough to play for black. But on the other hand, if you see that you can just play f4 and f5, then maybe it's okay, yeah?
Maybe it's just the only moves because I don't see anything else. How can we defend the g7 pawn after h4?
I also don't know. Yeah.
Sometimes you don't have an option, so you have to go for it, even if it's bad, even if it's unpleasant.
Some positions, some sequences are just forced. Yeah, I think white is winning, but you need to play precise. I have an idea. So rook g4 has to be played, Jan. There's no other option, right?
Rook d4 was played. He didn't want. He decided to give the pawn, but not to play passively.
Just when I said there's no other option, right? Yeah, there you go. Rook d4. All right, I was wrong.
Can we check on h7 or even play g7 now? D7 now, taking into account that the rook cannot be taken
because of queen d8 and then check. Exactly.
maybe
But
even
not involved like rook f8, I guess.
I thought maybe even rook h7. So because if I play d7 immediately, then there are some checks like rook d1 and rook h6 with the rook on f6. But if I first go rook h7, king g8, then I play d7. So there is no check on h6.
You're not really threatening anything at the moment. So maybe you are threatening maybe rook e7 now.
Still, you can play. No, you can't play rook f8. So you have to go rook f8 first.
Why can't I play rook f8? Oh, wait,
I
there's
don't
been
know.
some moves actually. So this is now the position on the board. And okay, white is just checking a few times, I guess, to get some more time on the clock because. Ooh.
That's practical.
Uh-huh. Wait, white is winning. Rook e7.
A rook f8 can't be played because it's mate. No, it's just mate. Rook h7 and rook
Of course, because of rook h7 and rook g7. Okay, so first king g8, d7, rook e8, and now d7. This wins, right?
and we threaten rook a8, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and I don't think there's anything a black can do about it. Let's see what happened on the board. Okay, so another repetition of moves.
Can we do the same with rook c7?
Okay, so d7 played.
Ah, he decided to go my way. Maybe not the best suggestion to listen to our stream.
I thought he missed the win. I thought rook e7 was winning there, but maybe it's still winning because there's still the threat of rook e7.
A rook e7. Why didn't he play that?
But
Maybe
now
he was afraid of these checks like rook d1, king h2, rook h6, king g3, rook g6.
I think it's a draw.
Okay.
I think it's a draw. I think that Lenier missed the win there. There's nothing that white can try anymore, right?
3 seconds. Okay, he made a move.
Yeah, and now
It's not funny. But it's a draw.
can
no.
white? No, there's always mate on d2, so now
There
it's
is
a
a mate
draw.
on d2, so
Wow,
white has to.
we need to recheck that position. I think that Lenier was winning. So
Let's go back.
in this position, white chose to play the move d7, going your way, but after with the threat of rook e7. But yeah, black wisely played f4, and suddenly, yeah, black also has mating threat. So my suggestion was, I think that in this position, rook e7. Wait, is that true? Yeah, check, king h8, and now rook e7 would have won. With the idea king.
And I started talking about some checks like rook d1 followed by rook h6.
So yeah, sorry, I was in train of thought there. Okay, guys, yeah, a very exciting game. And yeah, we are going to take a small break and we'll be back shortly with the next game for you.
See you soon.
Welcome back, everyone. We just finished an exciting game between Lenier Dominguez and Gemma Santos. Yeah, an exciting match so far. Anna and I couldn't help but talk over that end game before. It seems White was Lenier was winning somewhere, but with 10 seconds on the clock, it's very hard to win a positions like that. So and yeah, we directly go on with the next game. We have Lenia Dominguez with the black pieces against Gemma Santos. So yeah, after that, who do you think is more shaken up? Because I mean, Lenia had the better, um, yeah, had was playing for a win, but he couldn't convert it. So you could maybe count that as a psychological win for Gemma Santos.
I believe that after yesterday's match, he doesn't feel any pressure and doesn't feel that something is uncomfortable for him. He will just keep on playing. Moreover, it's Nimzo Indian. It's Nimzovic, so he played lots of games yesterday in this line, in this opening. I believe it's a very popular line on the board.
It's not the most dangerous line, right? The bishop is on d2. In many cases, in this opening, the bishop. Well, I don't know. So here, bishop b4, e3, and knight f3, d5, and now bishop d2. Is this a modern line, a line that has been played in recent years more often?
Yeah, bishop d2 is very popular, and I think it's like the trend line, the modern approach. Bishop d2 doesn't allow this doubling the pawns after bishop takes c3. Now white can take with the bishop, and they don't have double c pawns.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the idea, and can we scroll some of the moves?
Of course. So b6 was played.
b6 is yeah, b6 is the way they usually play. Then the bishop goes to b7 logically. And now black brings the bishop back to f8 because if they play immediately c5, the bishop on b4 would be awkwardly placed. Something like after a3, they would have to give the bishop, or even after d takes c5 first. Maybe first d takes c5, b takes c5, then a3, and then yeah, it's not the best. So black prefers to keep the bishop on f8, where it will support the pawn on c5 very well. Queen c2, c5. Now the typical setup for white is something like playing knight e5 followed by f4. Sometimes it's also followed by g4, g5, or rook f3, rook h3. I even played
Oh, I like. So knight e5, knight bd7, f4 with this idea sometimes, yeah?
yeah, g4, g5, something like this, some attacking options. While black would prefer to keep the knight on c6 because, I mean, the knight from b8, if it goes to c6, it also attacks the d4 pawn. And black may think about playing c4, then trying.
Right? Yeah.
If they can take, they do take. If not,
It's a very good opening lesson also for me. Let's go. So
or
yeah.
another possible idea is trying to play c4 and then trying to push b5, b4.
Mhm. Wow,
So
that
in
is
general, white is kind of trying to play on the king side, while black is trying to play on the queen side. Another opportunity is to take on c5. Then white doesn't need the move like knight e5. They take on c5, and they are playing again this hanging pawn. They bring the rook to d1 and trying to attack these central pawns. Rook
mm,
d1, moving the bishop to e1, perhaps another one to e2 or to f1, or sometimes to b5 attacking. The knight is coming to a4 attacking the c5 pawn. So
mm.
that's more or less the ideas. Let's see which setup we will see in this game.
There you go, everyone. A free opening lessons with Grandmaster Anna Muzichuk. Wow. Have you played this line with black? It sounds like you do.
With black, I didn't, but I had one game with white where I used this idea of F4, G4, G5, Rook F3, Rook H3. It was a nice game and a
Oh.
nice attack.
And 95 is on the board. It has been played. And now Dominguez is thinking in this position. Yeah, so you mentioned that knight c6 was an option with the idea that after f4, black can now take the pawn on d4 if white's not careful. Is there a drawback of knight c6 though? What could be a dangerous option? How can we test black here?
The pin like bishop b5 shouldn't be dangerous because in the worst case, black will go rook c8,
Exactly, protecting everything.
protecting everything.
What's
So
the general rule about hanging pawns? Do you need more pieces on the board as black in this case, or do you need less pieces on the board? Is it good to exchange pieces from the black side? For example, if I now take on c6, take on c6, and take on b5, is it good that we exchange the pair of knights there?
I think we should speak about it in a more precise way because only the knight doesn't change much. But in general, I believe it's good for. I mean, on general terms, it's considered that trading the queens is good for black because in that case they can bring the king toward the center and by this defend the pawns with the king. So the king will help them to defend the pawns. On the other hand, it depends a lot on the position. But what you definitely should do more often, you should try to keep the pawns on d5 and c5. Because if you move c4, then you weaken the d4 square, and then the knight may jump there, and the d5 pawn would be much weaker. Though it's not like the rule that can't be broken because sometimes c4 is very good as it occupies a lot of space. Moreover, instead of c4, there is also an interesting idea of playing d4 because it's also a very active and interesting possibility. Then you may open the bishop, keep an eye on the g2 square. The knight will have to move from c3 and then sometimes queen d5 comes. So in general, the side which has these pawns on c5 and d5, they are trying to play more active, and the side who is playing against these hanging pawns is trying to play more strategically. That's like general overview.
All right, thank you very much. And last question about that. With the expertise that you've obviously have here, do you think white has a good version of the hanging pawns, or is it black who has a better version?
In my opinion, it's okay for black, though I may be mistaken.
Okay, so after knight takes c6, bishop takes b6, d takes, b takes, you think that this position is perfectly okay for black?
It's perfectly playable.
All right. Yeah, I have almost no experience in this type of position, so I'm very happy that you could explain this. Yeah, what I know is that these hanging pawns are very, very dynamic, and that yeah, as you said, black has to play very active with those pawns and try to make yeah, life hard for your opponent in that way. While white is simply trying to undermine those pawns. For example, an idea that comes to mind from the white side is to play a move like b3, stop any possibilities with c4, and then reroute your bishop to f3 so that you can start targeting the d5 pawn, for example. But okay, both players are thinking. No, some moves have been played. So taking, and d takes e5. We get this on the board. All right. So this is more or less the type of position that Gemma likes, right? He likes quiet positional games. And that is more or less what we are getting here. At least that's the play that white should go for now, right?
I think he got a good position with black in this game. I mean, Lanyard got a good position with black in this game. But Jaime may be the one who will also like to play it on the white side. So they both got what they wanted. It's
Yeah, it's
nice.
a clash of styles, we could argue now, right? Yeah. So then the final is perfect. Because we've got two different generations, Lenia Dominguez being of the older generation and Santos representing the newer generation, and a clash of styles, Dominguez being a dynamic player and Santos being a more positional, strategical player here.
And
Perfect.
also look at the time. I think Jaime is kind of in a huge time pressure now because he has only 16 minutes while Dominguez has more time. It's the first time we are facing this situation, I believe,
We
in
spent
this
four
match.
centuries on time. No, this is not looking good.
I
No.
mean, I can't believe my eyes. Jaime with less time.
Yeah, with only 50 moves and already fought for 4 minutes. Oh my God, that's so much. Yeah.
Uh,
Um, yeah, all joking aside, I think 92 is a bit curious to me. I mean, the idea is that after c4, I'm guessing the bishop doesn't have to move. White has knight d4 here. My idea was if bishop f5, g6, bishop h3, the bishop has nowhere else to go. What is the knight going to be good on h3? Seems a bit awkward, but white has an in-between move here with the move knight d4, attacking the bishop on c6. So if you take on d3, queen takes c6, then it's arguable if the pawn on d3 is an asset or a weakness. Yeah.
I believe it's more like a weakness. And I warned you about the strong knight on d4 before, right? The
Yep.
knight is very beautiful on d4. Well, after queen c6, black doesn't do anything urgently, then white just play queen c3 and take the pawn on d3. Black may think about some active moves like knight e4.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I mean, after taking on c6, knight e4. But now even rook d1.
Rook f or rook f, I suppose. Yeah.
That's a good question. I wasn't sure about it, but I am happy that you decided.
Yeah, I like to just go normal moves. Just rook fd1 looks like the most sensible. But I was also hesitating because after rook c8,
We have to
um,
take.
exchange everything. Yeah, white is a little bit under pressure, and a move like rook c2 also comes to mind in some positions,
Maybe just f3 and nothing serious.
and nothing serious.
And look at this d3 pawn. I think it will be lost in the next moves.
Hmm. Yeah, we could go even further by playing a move like bishop c5 and checking how the rook ending goes. But it's clear that
Okay.
white is in the driver's seat. Yeah, here.
Yeah, I don't think it's the right approach for black. They shouldn't play this way.
Yeah. So yeah, c4 definitely an interesting option though. And by the way, after c4, knight d4, what if black simply retreats the bishop somewhere? Let's go to d7, for example. The bishop has to move, I suppose. Are we going forward or are we going back to e2?
I would prefer forward because white's position is kind of a bit cramped, so it's better if we trade some pieces and get more space for the
Mm,
other pieces.
okay. And let's say I try something like this, taking knight takes, I suppose, and something like this. These moves were, I think, all kind of forced. What do you think of this position?
This may be okay for black because, as I said, sometimes these pawns on d5 and c4 they control lots of space, uh, and also this knight on e4 is very active now. Also, it's possible to transfer the knight to d3 via c5.
Hmm.
Looks like
Maybe bishop d7 simply back is interesting. Yeah, c4. You said that it's better to keep the pawns on d5 and c5 so that you can keep all active possibilities open. I'm starting to like the move c4. Maybe my gut tells me that it's not the right time to play this, but maybe it works. right?
No, it may be okay because there are many famous games when it worked and when it worked perfectly for black. Just it's a very committal move because it can go either way.
Hmm. And he plays g6 now. A very sensible move, right? So it protects any bishop c5 move, and if the knight goes to g3, it protects also any knight move from g3. So g6 is a very sensible, quiet move. I think he's taking the same approach. Keep the pawns on c5 and d5. Yeah.
Mm.
Actually, yesterday, Simon Williams, who was commentating on the semifinals between Marsutlu and Linie Dominguez yesterday, he had a nice quote that I think he quoted Boris Spassky or someone else, and a famous person in chess. And he said that in isolated pawns, it's not the pawns on d5 that's the weakness. So, for example, if these pawns were exchanged, black would have an isolated pawn on d5. And the problem is not the pawn itself, it's the square in front of that pawn that is weak. And I thought it was a really nice quote from Simon, who knows definitely very good historical quotes. Yesterday, when there was also a quote about the Alekhine gun. Do you know about that one, perhaps?
No, I heard about the previous one because there is really, it's not only the quote, but I have heard someone pointing it as a rule. So the side who is controlling the square in front of the isolated pawn better, this side has an advantage. There is something like that.
I like that. All right. Yeah, it's more or less the same, I suppose. Yeah, it's all about the square in front of that pawn, in any case. Yeah. Okay, so but my
Agree.
previous question, what about the Alekhine gun? Do you know about that one?
No, what is it about?
Yeah, I didn't know it before yesterday as well. It's when you double the rooks, when you put the queen behind the rooks, and when the rooks are doubled. So basically, picture a rook on c3, a rook on c2, and then a queen behind it on c1. That's a
It's
step.
like the best setup, right?
Exactly. So you put
Okay.
the most heavy piece behind the rooks, the queen. Yeah, that's the Alekhine gun. I learned that from Simon yesterday.
Maybe in my language it just have another name because we don't have. I mean, if I translate like this expression exactly to my language, then we don't have it. But we have it a similar. And yeah, it's definitely better if you are tripling, a kind of tripling
Uh,
your heavy pieces on the same line. It's better that you have rooks in front because if you have queen in front, we can easily defend it. Let's just imagine we put the queen on c3, one rook on c2, and one rook on c1, and we trade the dark squared bishop. So the bishop on f8 is not protecting the c5 pawn. Then black can easily kind of defend if they move the bishop from c6 and play rook c8, right? But if we change the construction and we put the rook on c3, another rook on c2, and queen on c5, then we are attacking it in a much better way. Oh God.
it's really hard to show this on the board, but I followed it, and you're absolutely there. So the guys, for you viewers out there, I hope you could follow this, of course. And yeah, this was a great imaginational exercise. Yeah, which is good in general, by the way, to exercise imagination, because when you calculate variations, it's very good to imagine what the position will look like after the exchanges are done. Enough lessons. Yeah, black played knight g4. Good move or bad?
The Grandmaster Lenier Dominguez played it, so it can't be bad. And it has a serious threat of Queen h4 attacking, and maybe, well, the chances are very low that the mate will not be seen. But in general, knight g4, maybe it's not only the idea to play queen h4 because white can simply play h3. Maybe the idea is to come with a knight to e5.
Yeah,
Occupy the center square, attacking the bishop on d3. I
maybe
believe that's what.
like d4. Also, if maybe whites, I'm trying to think. Okay, the move 95 has not been played. This is the current position on the board. After 95, I want to try and play bishop e2, but maybe a move like d4 is now pretty annoying. With the idea, or actually, the knight also does not have a lot of squares to go to. No, I was thinking maybe g5, but you after g5, white can simply play knight h5, and that is not really a problem for white. So
Even knight d3, and maybe it's not like
mm,
g5 is a serious weakness.
yeah,
But I agree. Knight h5, knight g3, knight f5
mm.
is
So maybe a move like d4 would be interesting then.
d4, or maybe we can just bring the rook to c8. This rook on a8 is doing nothing.
Ah, yeah, very.
Eight. It's the only piece which is not in the game.
Yeah, it's what every coach tells you to do. Bring every pieces into play. So rook c8, yeah, definitely a move we can.
Then after d4, e takes d4, c takes d4, just in case it happens. So the queen on c2 will feel a bit uncomfortable
Yeah,
under this
of
line.
tactics and yeah. Wow, we really spoke about a lot. I'm still trying to grasp everything that we just said, but yeah, so let me take a small change of direction here. Let's remind everyone what the format is of this tournament. So this tournament is a it's 4 games of rapid play, and if no decision has been made, then we've got 2 blitz games for you to enjoy and to see if then a decision will fall. And if even in the blitz games we don't have a decision, then we will have an Armageddon game. And once again, I said it at the start, I'm really hoping for one. That would be awesome because that also means that we've got some exciting games up ahead of us. But yeah, so far the score is one for each player, 2 draws, and 2 games left in the rapid section.
All right. I may just add that the rapid games are played with a time control 20 minutes for the whole game with 10-second increments from 1. The blitz games have the time control of 5 minutes plus 3-second increments. And Armageddon game, I believe it's 6 minutes for white and white, 6 minutes for white, and black has 5 minutes, while they also have the draw odds.
Yeah, that is something I haven't seen before, by the way. That in the Armageddon game, white gets 6 minutes and black gets 5 minutes with no increment, which is very exciting, by the way. But yeah, there have been instances where white got 5 minutes and black got 4 minutes, but then there was a little bit of increment, like 1 or 2 seconds per move. Yeah, do you think this is a good system to have 6 minutes versus 5? And of course, draw odds. So if black manages to draw, then we have then black has won the match.
Uh, I also think that it's something unusual because playing Armageddon games without increment is very normal. We see it very often, but the time control 6 versus 5 is very unusual. It's much more often 5 versus 4.
Hmm.
And yesterday we saw the Armageddon game, and I believe many people got excited
Oh, yeah.
while they were watching it. By the way, Queen h4 was played, and h3 was played. No, knight e5.
Yeah, so this is more or less the position we had on the board, only with Queen h4 and h3 included now. Yeah, but talking about the Armageddon game is probably a bit too soon. We still have, if we're getting to that, then we still have 4 games left, 2 of rapid play, including this one, and 2 games of blitz play. But okay, yeah, black includes the move Queen h4 and h3. Is black maybe intending to go for a g5 move at some point? I'm wondering because Queen h4 takes nice control of the h5 square after that. Nah, but on the other hand, after bishop b2, g5, white can still play knight h5 without a problem. Right?
I don't think it's good for black this way, but with the bishop on d3, that was interesting. g5, and if the knight had to go to e2, then g4.
So let's say a move like rook e1, g5. Now the knight cannot go to h5, and it has to retreat to e2. Yeah, I don't
No,
know. I still don't see how black's going to continue. Maybe a move like g4, trying to blast everything open with d4 probably doesn't work. Well, yeah, it's an
but why
option.
not?
Sorry,
Why
why not?
not?
Why not
g4,
g4? All right. I don't know. Let's check. g4.
knight
So
f4 is possible if you.
first, after h takes g4, knight takes g4 is extremely dangerous right now. Yeah, by the way, I moved the rook to e1. That doesn't make any sense, obviously, but just to make a point. But knight f4 is still possible indeed. And now you could g3 is an option. G takes h3. G takes h3 looks terrible because of knight f3 ideas. And knight takes h3. Maybe there are also some tricks concerning with knight f3.
Also,
Is
sometimes you have to calculate something like bishop h6 instead of d takes h3. I mean, one move before.
okay.
So to
Here.
eliminate this knight from f4 and
Hmm.
maybe dangerous. Yeah, if you play g3, you weaken the f3 square. That was my point.
Yeah, so if g3 to try and close everything down. Then after knight f3, king goes, let's say, to h1.
h1.
Queen has to move. And then we have a nice square for a knight on f3. Okay, keep in mind, everyone, that bishop takes h7 is still an option, and this is very, very unclear. But
Yeah, d4.
I played rook e1 as an example move, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense here. But I do believe that g5, g4 is an idea to consider.
Yes, we just show the ideas and the lines, the directions, which may be possible for black and also before for white.
Okay,
How to
so
defend and how to attack.
we have a few moves. After knight e5, bishop e2 was played. So now after rook a c8, rook fd1 was played. This is the current position on the board. Yeah, so I'm guessing that white's gonna play bishop e1 like you suggested. And okay,
But
here we
d4 immediately.
yeah, exactly, that's played.
I don't like white's position. There are so many threats hanging over them. d4 now, to take on d4 is very unpleasant because it opens both of the rooks. Then all the ideas with moving the bishop or moving the knight, the queen on c2 is potentially under attack and the bishop on e2 is also potentially under attack. So I don't believe e takes d4 will be played. But what will be played?
I don't know. I'm wondering what the concrete threat is here. Like what's black's next move if white doesn't do anything? Okay.
White played e4.
Okay. E4
What about
check.
g5 now?
Ooh, I guess
Taking
knight
into
f5.
consideration that the pawn on e4 will be unprotected, but maybe we have knight d5, or we can still play knight h5, and
Yeah.
bishop e4 is not possible because of knight f6.
Yeah, or queen takes e4, queen takes e4, and then knight f6. Checking and winning the piece. So
Right.
knight h5, do we have a separate move? A move like d3? Maybe that works. No, that,
d3, do we have this knight f6 check in between?
yeah, my idea was to take, and if white has to take on d3, then we can take the piece on h5. But after knight f6, the king has to move to h8, I think, because if king g7, then knight takes e8 with check. Wins material. And after king h8, bishop takes d3 is possible, after which the knight does not really stand badly on f6. So I don't think g5 is good there. If knight h5 works, then I don't think g5 is good.
All right.
What then? I mean, bishop h6 might be interesting. Is it though? Because white can simply play g3, protecting the knight on f4.
G3, then taking the queen back.
Let's say to f6. Yeah, there are also maybe queen takes c5 sometimes works. It's a complicated game. It's really not easy to figure out what's going on. Maybe black's trying to play this positionally. So this is the current position. What about a simple move like rook d8? I want to play.
What's the idea? What's the threat?
It doesn't threat. I don't think it threatens anything. Maybe g5 now because you don't have knight f6 check and knight takes c8.
Maybe d3. Because then if white takes the pawn on d3, we take the pawn on e4 with the bishop, and there will be some unpleasant pain.
Maybe one move before, yeah, instead of rook d8, just immediately d3, you mean?
But with the rook on d8, it's more pressure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so rook d8, now d3 is a threat.
Yeah, this rook or another rook. Also rook c8 is possible. Because with the rook on e8, we control the e4 pawn better.
That's true.
And the c5 pawn is well protected.
Hmm.
We don't have to pay much attention to it.
I like black's position. I think white has some problems to solve here. And very good. He played your move. Rook c8.
Okay, played. Nice. Oh.
Why are you not a participant, Anna? You seem to be able
For
to
me,
have.
it's so funny because from time to time I'm checking the players' expressions, and when I look at Jaime, it's always so funny. Such an amusing guy.
Yeah, Linear is so composed at the moment, so focused. Well, yeah.
So focused, like always. Like it's the most important game in his career. So rook cd8. What can white play now? We can't block on d3 because even if we put the bishop on d3, then black takes on d3 and they take the pawn on e4. So that does not work. Can we move the queen, something like queen b1? Maybe
Prophylactic for d3.
still d3. Looks good.
Still
Still there will be the pin after bishop takes e4. Knight d3, bishop e4. I wouldn't want to play this position with white.
It looks really unpleasant. It's not because of the pawn structure or anything. It's because of the coordination of the white pieces. The knight should be somewhere else. It should be on c4 in this case, or in this position with the knight on f4. You would rather have it, let's say, in this position. Maybe, yeah, you would rather have it once again on c4, for example, or on b2, because on f4 it looks a bit awkward, doesn't it?
I'm looking at this position and I'm actually thinking about sacrificing the pawn by playing knight d5 just to control the light squares better, but maybe it's not working. Rook d5, again d3 is a threat.
Yeah, and we've got some moves. White played g3. All right, it makes sense. The knight sometimes is a weakness. For example, after bishop h6, the knight might need some protection with g3. But after queen f6, you are a bit worried about this diagonal, aren't you? I think white's going to follow it up perhaps with a move like knight d5 at some point.
Also, white has to take care of knight f3, of this f3 square, because they weakened it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, not in this position, but sometimes there might be an idea, something like d3, bishop d3, knight f3, and then with some complications.
Yeah, and complications. Yep. G3. I'm surprised to see this move. What is the benefit? I mean, the idea could be to play h4, but then d3 looks once again really strong.
Knight f3. Knight f3 is a very nasty idea now.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe bishop g5 was the idea, but
But
once
knight
again,
f3 still.
yeah, and oof, that looks painful.
And then white will regret they played g3.
Yeah, so g3, it's a move that you should play with real consideration. If it weakens your king position that much, then it might not be yeah, a good thing to allow such weakening of your king side. Yeah, it's a move that surprises me. And looking at the time, so Gemma has fought for more than 13 centuries now, and Lenier has fought for 16 minutes. So yeah, the time is beginning to become more and more a factor.
I
Uh,
really like your centuries comparison.
well,
h4 was played.
all right, uh,
Just the
but
line
it
we
does
were discussing.
work. We discussed this, right? D3 now. Are we missing something? Knight takes, bishop takes e4. Maybe just bishop c3, perhaps?
Maybe bishop f4 blocking this diagonal. But anything, I mean, nothing prevents black from playing knight f3. They can play it after any game,
It looks,
after any move.
this looks disastrous. I mean, I would think of giving an exchange to get to something like this. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what White's follow-up is. So h6 played. Okay. Okay, that surprises me as well. But you don't, yeah. I'm thinking more and more that black is simply in the driver's seat right now. White has to keep thinking about d3 ideas, and yeah, the e4 pawn is weak, while black's pawns are nicely defended by the bishop on f8. And yeah, I mean, this is looking really, really dangerous for white. d3 at some point.
I also like d3 immediately, but the idea of playing h6, I think he wants to make g5 working. Also, he prevents white from playing bishop g5, as you pointed. So now g5.
Would you
Maybe
play?
now g5 is a threat.
Okay, let's say I play a move like a4. Now g5 takes knight h5. I guess the idea is then that you would play queen g6 and try to attack e4.
Yes, because knight f3 perhaps wasn't so good as after, instead of, yeah, knight f3, king g2 attacking the knight and the queen.
Still, that's interesting because after queen g6, bishop takes, you've got g4.
g4. Wow. And
With
after
it,
knight f4, again, g takes f3 comes with a check.
the idea that if you move, then you've got a nice,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice
But,
line.
but g4, knight f4 takes, king goes somewhere, queen goes somewhere. Yeah, it
Why
looks
not to take the pawn?
yeah, I wanted to mate,
Also,
but taking
also
is
good.
good, I guess. Oh, just g5. I underestimated that move. It looks good. Yeah. White is in a pickle. It's hard for me to yeah, to think of a move for white here. I think that Gemme is gonna go for a move like bishop a5. Yes, rook d7, and maybe now a move like knight d5 or rook e1. Yeah, was my next suggestion.
Hmm.
Yeah, I guess he's preparing for d3.
Rook e1 was played.
Yeah. So I'm guessing he's preparing for d3 somehow. Ugh, this looks so dangerous. Should work somehow, right?
So I think the two options we have to check now is g5 again or d3. Which one would you prefer? G5? Take.
I'm wondering if we can just sack that pawn with knight d5, because black's white squares are extremely undefended after taking rook takes, and something like yeah, I don't know, queen. It's still not so clear, but d3 is still a threat. Yeah, this simply looks good for black again. Yeah,
One
okay.
more thing. Instead of taking on d5, after knight d5, there was a possibility, or was there? No, I wanted to talk about knight f3. Because now the rook is on e1, and if white plays king d2, we will take on e1 with a check.
Yeah, with check. So the king then has to go to f1, for example.
Yes, because on h1, queen
Now you
h6.
can take and play knight takes e1, and you win the exchange.
Right, so maybe it's necessarily to take on f3, but you give this slight squared bishop.
Yeah, so knight d5, knight f3, takes, and you've got all these nice squares for you. Okay, some moves have been played. We're going into yeah, the final stage of the game. Wait, I need to check what happened. G5 played. H takes, knight d5. Oh, I like
Rook
this.
takes d5. Look at that.
Not even knight f3 looked really good, but rook takes d5 looks so principled. Yes, I really like this. Okay, I guess the idea is obviously that the bishop has free range over this diagonal. Moves like queen h6, or if you want to be fancy, queen h8 are possibilities. Okay, but queen d1. The idea is that after knight f3, bishop takes, you cannot take back with the queen because it's protected by the queen on d1. So okay, makes sense. So
And what are you supposed to do if queen goes to h6 or h8?
I suppose the only idea is to play f3.
f3, and then I'm thinking about queen h3. Oh, I have one more idea, knight g4.
Ooh, takes,
Check and mate.
mate. And the threat after knight g4 is queen h2 and queen f2 mate. There's nothing you can do about this.
Yeah,
This looks
looks terrible
over.
for black, for white. Also, queen h3 was very unpleasant. I guess it was winning to another winning line was queen h6, f3, queen h3. I don't see any defense. And if king f2 now, then again knight g4 or queen h2. I believe that's like everything's winning.
Everything is winning. Rook takes d5. Such a nice exchange sacrifice. Yeah, I think g3 was the move where white went wrong. With that, black got so many tactical possibilities. I think Linear must be really happy, although he doesn't really show it at the moment. But
He never shows it. He won a very intense match yesterday, and if I were on his place, I would have been so much happy, but he was so serious. Like, I think his face didn't even change at all. He
oh,
took it like as if it was normal. Oh, so something is happening?
yeah, something's happening. Not queen h6. I just figured that after queen h6, white also has to move bishop h5, perhaps. But yeah, let's check what happens in the game. Maybe that was the reason why he didn't play this, or he just calculated knight f3 until the end. Yeah,
Knight
bishop
f3.
takes needs to be played, otherwise queen takes f3. So bishop takes, queen d3, g4.
And g4. G4, very important move. You protect the bishop, and now you have all these ideas, right? Queen h6 or queen h8, and the queen is coming.
Still looks winning. Queen d2 played, and now I'm expecting
So,
queen h8.
queen h8, be careful with queen g5. Queen g5, bishop g7, queen d8.
Ooh, that's tactics. Okay, but bishop h6
But bishop
first.
h6 looks
Yeah.
nice.
And
First,
then
take the rook.
but still, after bishop h, queen has to go to, let's say,
Queen.
b.
Let's make it in
I
the
think
most
you
precise.
don't take.
Queen g5.
Ah, that's nice. Yeah.
Taking
Queen
the rook.
threatening the rook. Rook has to go, and then queen h5 with mate. Very instructive. Yeah, black won by resignation after
Queen
more.
f5 was played.
Wow, nicely done by Lenya Dominguez. Yeah, this G3 move by Gemma was a big question mark for me. I think the black, even from a practical standpoint, it might have worked concretely, but yeah. In any case, we are now moving on to the fourth game where Gemma Santos is in a must-win situation, and that with the black pieces. We are taking a short break and we'll be back shortly with the last, well, maybe the last game of this match. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, don't go too far ahead. Let's just enjoy the game. Stay tuned. We will be back shortly.
Yeah, that was a really cool game. I enjoyed it a lot. And Rook d5 sacrifice. I kind of saw it, but I wanted to make it without sacrifices.
Yeah, this rook takes d5 move was really interesting from black. Well, yeah, there were so many tactical possibilities there, right? It was amazing. Yeah, and yeah, what to talk about? This was a crazy game, right? I mean, yeah, I'm very happy that, by the way, we also have an interview later after all the matches are done, so that we can interview Linia Dominguez about everything that went on in his head, and maybe we can also then see some happiness, like on the camera he must be dancing in his head, but instead you see a very, very straight face, and
I don't believe that. I don't believe that, but I would love to see that if that happens.
All right. And it seems that we are still online, by the way. So, yeah.
So
we are now going on to a break, and we'll be back.
we are still... Okay. Now people will see everything what happened.
Welcome back, everyone. The game is yet to start. We took a bit of a bathroom break there. But yeah, so far, a great chess. I really liked this last game from Linia Dominguez. A really, yeah, a class performance from Black here, mostly because of this exchange sacrifice after g5, h takes, knight d5, and then rook takes d5 and bishop takes d5. It was so good to see that. It's like, yeah, this could be in any positional, how do you say, exchange sacrifice book, don't you think?
Could be right.
Yeah, so a must-win situation for Jaime Santos. Yeah, it's and that's with the black pieces, and I'm not sure if he was down in his match against Shirov, but what do you think about his Brazilians there? Do you think he has a good shot of coming back in this game?
I think he was always leading. I mean, when he started to win, he was never the one who was in a must-win situation. In his previous match with Shiro, but now he's in a really difficult situation because to win with black against such a strong player like Lenier is a difficult task. Although yesterday we had a similar situation and Perham managed to do it. So
Exactly.
I'm really looking forward for the game
Yeah.
to start, and it's already started.
Yeah, the game has started. We see a Sicilian on the board, so no d4 anymore. And oh wow, this is cool. Lenia Dominguez is playing the Queen f3 line, which is in my book one of the sharpest line to play against the Taimanov.
Yes, I am an e4 player myself, and I play this line versus Taimanov. Basically, I have tried many lines. I have tried Queen f3. I have tried Queen d2, also many others. But Queen f3 became popular a few years ago. Before Queen d2 was like a must move, and the move which was more, which was played more frequently. But Queen f3 is very interesting, and it has already been played many times by many strong players. So the idea is to bring the queen to g3, and if the queens are traded, then queen takes g3, a takes g3 opens the rook for white. So the rook from h1 starts working without making a single move. Otherwise, if it happens something like knight e5, the queen kind of lost two tempos, but now white will sooner or later play f4. So black will lose tempos by moving this knight
There you
somewhere. F4 was played immediately. It's still the main theory. Knight g4, and there are two moves. One is bishop g1, like the main one, and another interesting possibility is to play bishop d2. I am really curious where Linear will go.
There's
And
also e5 a move here.
e5, yeah, how does the theory go?
I
e5
thought
after
e5,
e5, knight e3,
knight.
then b4 at some moment, because you have to make this knight move. Knight d5, yeah, it's another line. Instead of knight a4, there is knight b1. I played a good game versus a Setoraman. I was white and I won by making a nice combination. You may check this game later on in the database.
We all will, of course. I think I actually already did. I made a DVD recently for ChessBase on the Open Sicilian, and there I also studied this line with black. I recommend to play this Queen f3 move. But yeah, to me, it always is very, very dangerous to play such a line. You do have to know exactly how to play from the white side. And yeah, there are so many possibilities. If I remember correctly, then there was also a piece sacrifice concerning with knight d5, which was played by Mamedyarov, I think. For example, after bishop g1, b4, I think knight d5 is also a possibility here, with the idea that if you take, I believe e5 is a possibility as well, and so you win back the piece with good piece play. All your pieces are working nicely. So yeah, bishop g1.
There are
Is
many interesting lines after bishop g1, also after b4. Once again, there is knight a4, there is knight b1, there is knight d5. But Lenier played bishop d2, and this is not a very popular move, though it was played by Romain Edouard. I believe, I don't remember against whom. But at that time, it was like a novelty, and he won that game. So people started to pay attention to bishop d2.
mm, it's not the main move here, right? I do believe the bishop g1 is the main move. Do you think the bishop d2 will get more attention in the future?
I think it's an interesting move, and it definitely should be considered. Bishop c5, I don't remember if the main line goes this way. We have to point that after bishop d2, the threat is playing e5 because now the bishop is not on e3 anymore and black can't take this bishop. So after e5, the knights are trapped. It's like a huge threat. So black has to play something concrete. One of the options could be b4 or bishop c5 attacking the d4 knight as it was played in the game. I somehow believe b4 is the main move, but I may be mistaken.
Yeah, I don't recommend this bishop d2 move in my DVD series, but it's something that I definitely considered. I remember seeing this bishop d2 move, seeing that it hasn't been played that often, but that when it was played by strong players. So definitely a move to consider. Yeah, this bishop d2. Bishop c5. It's principled. I guess the question is, what happens if black simply retreats the knight somewhere? Let's go to b3, for example. What happens then?
What I'm really very surprised about that bishop c5 was played relatively very quickly, a bit less than 2 minutes. Jaime needed a bit less than 2 minutes to play bishop c5, but it's such a responsible move. I don't know. Let's discuss knight b3 because it looks very logical. Retreat the knights, attacking the bishop on c5. I kind of see that there might be some problems with knight f2, but on the other hand, after knight f2, the pawn on g7 is hanging, so I believe knight f2 can't actually be played.
Yeah,
Can he?
I believe so too. So yeah, for multiple reasons, my line went knight takes c5, queen takes c5, and then bishop e3. But then black still has a can take on h1 because the g3 queen is attacked. So I think the problem is queen takes g7 after knight f2. Yeah,
Let's
and
say rook f8. If we just continue the line a little bit, rook f8, queen f6, knight h1, and black kind of won the exchange, but look at this knight on h1. It's really out of play, and all these squares, we may see the supreme of the dark squared bishop now. In the previous game, it was about the light squared bishop, but now it's about the dark squared bishop.
yeah,
So this will not happen.
it feels wrong. Knight f2 shouldn't work. Actually, after knight f2, black and white can also take immediately on g7. So that's a move we did not consider yet. But yeah, it simply looks like the dark squares are going to be way too weakened after knight f2. Let's see if Dominguez is thinking though. And I wonder what he's thinking about. I think the problem might be that after knight b3, bishop b6, maybe knight f2 is now a lot stronger for some reason. Or actually, yeah, I think
e5. Do you believe this is good for black?
no,
If knight f2, it takes f6.
I really don't. I really don't. Knight f2, taking on g7, maybe taking the knight first. It all looks very good. Like takes, and maybe even f takes g7 looks interesting.
I'm calculating some fancy line like knight f2, it takes f6, and knight h1, f takes g7, attacking the rook, rook g8, and then I thought about knight e4, sacrificing the queen. Uh,
Oh,
knight g3, knight f6, then taking on g8, and kind of threatening to retreat the knight and promote the pawn, but that's of course not No, this time it doesn't work because black simply has knight h5 or knight f5, but the idea was interesting.
Darn it. So close. Oh, that would have been
So
nice.
close. If it wasn't about knight attacking the pawn, it could work. Sometimes it works.
Uh-huh. No, definitely. Yeah, but yeah, it feels like, okay, there are so many options here as well. Yeah,
So
but
just take queen takes
it's
d7.
actually, if only not because of this knight at h5 or knight f5, by the way. If not for that, it seems to work. Yeah. Yeah,
I was
because
close, you see.
yeah, no. It would be beautiful if it worked. But okay, after f takes g, after e takes f6, yeah, probably g takes is best then, right? But after bishop e2, let's say takes, queen g7 anyway. This looks terrible. Nah. So after knight b3, is that played? No, he's and he went for bishop e1.
I wanted to ask about bishop e1 because to me it also looked interesting. We protect the knight on d4, we keep the knight on d4, and we keep all the threats like e5 or h3 while we don't allow any of knight f2 ideas.
That's true, but you do allow bishop e3 ideas. So for example, after a move like h5, you play knight b3, then the knight can still jump to e3, perhaps.
Once
But
again,
why? But we checked a lot of lines after knight b3, and everything was good for white. So why did he not play this? Maybe because of b4? Some shenanigans with knight takes e4? Oh,
maybe first bishop f2 so that the bishop will not be taken and then b4, but putting the bishop on f2, oh, it's so
threatening
dangerous.
e. So the bishop has to move back, probably.
I
Oh,
thought about before.
sorry.
I thought about before, like bishop f2 and before instantly.
Oh, like this here before. Yeah. Also, good, interesting inclusion. Yeah, knight has to go, and then there are some options in the position. For example,
Bishop
queen
b7
or
and
bishop.
bishop e4.
Yeah, and bishop takes e4. Okay, so bishop f2 was the problem there, and that's why he decided to go for bishop e1. Yeah, it looks so strange, right? You played bishop e3 only to go back to e1. It's something that you really don't see every day.
Don't repeat it in your own games. If you played bishop e3, then
Yeah, that's why
try to keep it there.
that's why this queen f3 line is very hard. You do need to know exactly what you're doing, otherwise you might get worse really quickly. So about the opening choice then, I think that this was a really good opening choice from Gemme, because it's such a double-edged position right now.
Yeah, taking into account that Jaime is in a must-win situation, this is not so bad. But yeah, I was kind of a bit kidding about bishop e3, bishop d2, bishop e1, because in this position it may actually be okay. As black also lost quite a lot of tempos and white is still ahead in development. So when it comes to concrete play, you may think about doing such things.
Yeah. Bishop on e1. Huh. Okay, but okay. White's plan is to play h3 and to push the knight back and to win on g7. So black does need to be very quick here. What about a move like h5? With the idea that after h3, you have an in-between move with h4. Queen has to go, and then you can put the knight, yeah, to this lovely square on h6. This looks, this looks really bad, doesn't it? The knight is totally in, yeah, and you can maybe even consider bishop takes h4 winning a pawn. So yeah, scratch that. Not good. But then
What about before?
no, okay, knight a4, I suppose, has to be played.
Not easy. What can I say? I'm really surprised by bishop c5 because Jaime is thinking now, but maybe it was more reasonable to think one move before. As it's a really crucial moment.
I agree, yeah.
Is there any?
Did you ever play the terminal from the black side?
No. Luckily not.
Luckily not.
Not like luckily not. I just didn't play many Paulsen setups. I played a Conversation,
Mhm.
and I played Sveshnikov if we are speaking about the Sicilian, but not Taimanov. It's a very normal opening, and nowadays even it's considered to be okay according to the theory, but it's a bit dangerous for black because you may end up being under such an unpleasant attack, and you have to be ready for that. This doesn't suit everyone. So some people like it, but some people prefer to attack instead of to defend.
Mm.
Though if you are playing with someone who doesn't like to attack, and if white makes sometimes even just one slow move is enough so that black's position is already completely fine. Queen b6 was played. Meanwhile, attacking the d4 knight.
Yeah, and possibilities perhaps over the dark squares there. Okay, yeah, white has to react now. I mean, the knight is under attack. It needs to move, or white needs to consider to play a move like e5 or h3, trying to attack one of black's knights.
I really like h3.
Okay.
I don't know why. I have seen this idea before in this line. So it's met quite often h3. We trade the knights this way. If bishop takes c3, then queen takes c3.
Mm-hmm.
So that after knight e4, we have queen g7. We are controlling.
Looks very, very good for white. Yeah, the dark squares are open. The h file is a huge asset for white now. Okay, so after h3, I guess black has to take though. I mean, knight h6 is not possible because of queen takes g7.
Knight can't retreat. Black has to take, but what to do after h takes g4? g5 is a threat already. g5 for black, good idea. It's a very typical idea.
I want to sacrifice. I'm in the sacrificing mood after the previous game. What about taking on d4?
I like it for white. Really
Okay,
nice.
f2, and then make use of the dark squares. I don't know exactly how, but it looks, well, knight takes c4 is a problem, perhaps. So tough. Okay, but g5. G5, the idea is to gain some control over the dark squares. Maybe I can also simply take.
h3 was played by linear. h3, bishop takes d4, h takes g4, and bishop b7. Almost immediately.
Almost immediately. Yeah.
Almost. g5 was not played.
Not yet, maybe. Okay, the problem with g5 is that e4 is hanging. No. Okay, I was going to suggest after g5, knight takes, bishop takes. Because of this h file being open, you could argue that even after a move like bishop d3, white is very good compensation for the pawn.
Especially after bishop takes d3, queen takes d3, we attack the bishop, and we will take on h7 on the next move because the bishop will move somewhere. If not about bishop e3 tag. But still.
Yeah, maybe it's okay, g5. You could also play a move like e5, that also comes to mind.
e5 looks more stable, and we don't sacrifice anything. Moreover, I think Linear would prefer not to sacrifice anything because he's the one who is taking a draw in his odds.
Of course, yeah. Alenier is in a drawing position. If he draws, then he wins the match and will be the champion of the Leon finals here. Yeah, but on the other hand, he is going for such a sharp line, so I don't know. Maybe he's just very confident in his calculation skills. I
He's
mean,
still thinking after bishop b7, so he's considering e5, g5. Any other options to defend the e4 pawn or not to defend? e5 was played.
that's the question: to defend or not to defend. Bishop d3, perhaps. Yeah, also not a possibility.
To defend or not to defend? That is the question.
I like e5. E5 makes the most sense to me because even if let's say black has to make a choice, knight e4 and knight d5. If knight e4 takes bishop d3, I think we've got a good version of what we already just saw. Only now we are not a pawn down as black.
Exactly, it's just the same, but the pawn is on the board, and that's important.
Yeah. So instead, after e5, knight d5 might be better, but it's more or less the same thing. Oh, actually, after knight d5, you might also. I was considering knight e4, but there's a little problem on the dark squares here. Although after bishop d2.
Bishop d2? Maybe it's not so bad.
Yeah, because if you take now, everything is protected, and if you take here, then everything is protected as well. Knight d6 is your next move. So.
And it's very important that the H file is open because there are some similar lines when the knight when the pawn is on h2 or h3, not on g4, and black simply castles, and they are okay. But when the H file is open,
exactly, yeah. So for
doesn't
example,
seem.
this line. Oh, this is already lost. Forgive me. I'll try to make a better one to make the point. Okay, 95 takes. Yeah, if black is going to castle long short, then he has to deal with this h file indeed. Yeah. Double rook sacrifice. Kasparov, what was it? Spring tournament, Tata Steel tournament, I believe, 1999 against Topalov.
It may work. We may even show it on the board
at some point. So
just we need to get rid of this e1 bishop. Maybe some bishop a5 sacrifice.
It's not necessary to go for.
Yeah. It's a bit too much.
Yeah, but this is looking very good for white. I think, or actually, a move like bishop b4 also comes to mind. Yeah, this is looking really, really good. I think that Santos misplayed somewhere. Not exactly sure. You usually see this line also played with an h5 inclusion, and never without h5. I believe h5 is very important. A game that comes to mind is Caruana Kayakin in 2015. I believe that h5 was also there included. And that was a game that Caruana actually also won. So
I believe Caruana was on the black side. So it was Karyakin Caruana.
Exactly, yeah.
To be precise. And Jaime played knight e4. Knight e4, knight e4, bishop e4, bishop d3 was played. And he retreated the bishop to d5.
Yeah.
So that's what we mentioned briefly. King b1, b4.
Okay, so one idea that black does have is simply never to castle and to simply go for an initiative on the queen side. And yeah, and white needs to deal with that somehow.
Black can forget about castling shore. They may kind of still think about castling shore, but definitely not. Castling long, but definitely not castling short.
Yeah, you could take on h7, but that pawn I don't think matters that much because the king is very safe on e8 for the moment at least. I am wondering about a position after g5, for example, with the idea that after a5 you could play g6 and try to make use of this pin on the h file and try to disrupt black's king position, perhaps.
That looks very good. As for black, I also thought about queen a5 instead of a5 attacking the a2 pawn. But after
queen a5, we may have a3. No?
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah, beautiful. With the idea that the queen is pinned, simply.
But
So
after rook b8, putting more pressure, rook b8, the idea is that after bishop b4, we have rook b4 sacrifice.
and I guess
Doesn't
okay.
queen a2, then king c1, but that looks dangerous for white now.
Dangerous. Yes, absolutely.
Maybe it's still okay, but I don't know. After rook b8,
Mhm. You don't have to take now. You can also play a more positional move. I want to get rid of one of these bishops somehow. Maybe a move like bishop,
but be careful, bishop b2 may be dangerous.
or maybe even b takes a3, right?
B takes a3 also.
And a2.
a2,
Oh,
that's the mate.
yeah. So king c1 then, but it should be clear that if the queen promotes, then it's lost. Queen takes a5. Ooh, this is dangerous for Dominguez. Wow, that is some really good decisions from Santos there. Yeah, it's not Queen a5. It's does white need to make another move with the bishop, play something like bishop d2, with the idea that after Queen a5 you can play b3 and bishop c1, but then the bishop bishop e3, bishop d2, bishop e1, bishop d2, bishop c1. That bishop has seen the world. It's like, yeah, well, in its own corner, but still, it moved 6 times already or something. So
That's funny.
bishop,
Bishop d2.
yeah,
Maybe then black switches to the plan with a5 and a4.
yeah, and that is also quite dangerous because the more I look at this, the more I like black's position. I think we need to trade some pieces off. We need to get rid of one of these bishops somehow. Has a move been played? Not
Rook h7 was played,
king b1.
by the way.
Or rook takes h7 anyway. Okay.
No fear, he did take that pawn.
The idea is that you cannot play queen a5 because of rook takes d4 now. Okay. Yeah. There you go.
And if you
Calculation.
kind of play g6, trying to trap the bishop,
I guess
then
it's,
maybe some f5 ideas.
yeah. Yeah, it looks very bad for black. If you play bishop e4 to protect the g6 pawn, then queen f4 and you are in big trouble already. This the more I look at this position, the better it looks for white. Okay. You can say that in every position.
G6, f5, g5. I was considering something like that. Doesn't look so clear.
f6, perhaps, or take and
f6.
moves.
Hmm.
Go for a mate, but I don't think you can. I think taking is the safer option. If bishop takes, bishop e4. If d takes, then yeah, black has good
Doesn't look clear at all.
No. Let's see, a move has been played.
G6 wasn't played in the game.
Yeah, no rook g6. I guess he was afraid of f5 still. And rook c8 played. I'm not sure. This move, I'm not sure what the idea is. Rook c8.
Just to bring the rook, sometimes there are ideas of some sacrifices.
Oh,
Just
it's rook
logic.
perhaps.
Some rook c3.
Yeah, g5, g3, let's go.
Imagination.
Yeah. B takes is mate. Bishop takes looks once again very dangerous because of the dark squares. Yeah, but still, after queen a5, rook takes d4 is already possible because
Queen
of
a3, queen c3. Maybe queen b4 instead of queen a5. Okay, it's not a forced line.
No, no, I'm just joking around. But rook c3 is perhaps one of the ideas. And then if white doesn't take, you move the rook over to a3 to win the a2 pawn. Looks maybe that's the idea.
So queen d3 was played and bishop c3. Black puts some
Yeah.
piece on c3, and you know, when you're playing the game, it's very annoying. Sometimes you realize like you should have a defense and everything's under control, everything's okay, but when you have this bishop on c3, it's getting on your nerves. I know.
Yeah, you need to be careful there. But Dominguez is doing very well. I think that he is exchanging all the bishops, and that would mean that the danger is mostly over.
Bishop e4 is a good move. Moreover, bishop takes e4 can't be played because of queen takes d7, and later on we take the rook with a check. So rook c5 was played.
All right.
And bishop f2, just pinning the rook.
Ooh, did he blunder there, or is this still okay?
Things we should calculate it is something with sacrificing on a2 or queen a5.
Always a check on d7, but after king takes rook a5, I suppose. King, well, actually king b3 might be possible, but I'll go to b1.
Oh my god.
Queen
Let's
takes.
go.
So.
White mates first.
Ooh, rook c5 was with the idea to, after bishop takes d5, to take back with the rook, and that saves black a good pawn structure. But bishop f2, queen a5 played.
What's happening after queen a5?
That was played. Bishop takes d5, rook takes d5 on the board. And now I'm guessing queen f3 or queen e2.
Oh, the bishop on c3 will be trapped now. Yeah, because if black doesn't have enough pieces, if they don't have...
Let's say we trade everything off, then since black doesn't have enough attacking pieces, the bishop on c3 is simply, yeah.
It will be simply taken.
This is
Let's
looking...
say queen b5 in the end, just that white wouldn't be able to take it immediately.
Bishop d2 played. He keeps fighting. I think he senses that it's close to over, but bishop d2 looks annoying to me. I don't know. Oh, well, actually, what about simply a move like rook h1? The bishop doesn't do much on d2.
Rook h1 threatening rook h8, king e7, bishop h4.
Yep.
Okay, in general, it already looks like there is no attack anymore, no threats, no serious threats.
It looks like this is close to over. I think Dominguez played a stellar game here with, just grabbing a pawn on h7, calmly, composed, calculating everything and seeing that all the threats don't work for black. Very high quality there.
Also, looking at Jaime's face, it's obvious that he doesn't like what's happening on the board. Not so much excited about his position.
Yeah, and Dominguez is probably once again dancing in his head, but not showing it on the screen there. Yeah.
I think his face didn't change. Since the beginning of the match, it was always the same.
Yeah. Do you think that black still has a shot somewhere? Can we find some tactic or some genius idea for black somehow? We are at the current position with bishop d2.
I don't see anything. There still could be some ideas with the bishop on c3. But with the bishop on d2...
Rook h1.
Rook h1 was played.
Makes sense.
Very good. Very good and very strong play. Very powerful by Dominguez. Really nice match today. I think the only bad thing which happened today with him in this match was when he didn't
win game 2 where he had
Rook
huge
ending.
chances.
Yeah,
This
game two, he was in total control there as well. He had the upper hand in almost every game, I think, here.
in the
Yeah.
first game it was kind of unclear. Then in the second he was pressing. In the third one he won in a nice style, and the fourth one is also going under his direction. I believe under everything under control, the way he wants it to go.
Yeah, I think that in this game, he never really had any problem. Well, he did. I would probably get mated in like 5 moves at some point. But yeah, I mean, like he calculated everything until the end and simply, uh, yeah, managed to overplay his opponent. Okay, king d8. It was a move I was considering with the idea that after rook h8 you can move the king to c7, where it's relatively safe. Okay, so white still needs to show some technique, and one thing that black has in its favor is the time control again. Lenier is taking his time and is sweet time to try and win this position. But yeah, if you take too much time, then you might end up losing the game because you're run out of time, which happened once again in his match against Makhsoudlu in the semifinals. Yeah,
Just yesterday, not so long ago, he
yeah.
still remembers it in his head. It's on one side, it's good because that will push him to play quicker. On the other hand, it's sometimes psychologically bad because you still have it in the head, and you might
Hmm.
be scared that that might happen again. Anyway,
In
bishop
like
e3,
bishop e3.
maybe not the best move, but a very safe one.
Yeah, maybe he could have played something more aggressive, but bishop e3, just exchanging the bishops, just enjoy your solid pawn up. Yeah, looks good. I think he wants to eventually go to an endgame where he can convert this rook. Yeah, just straight off the queen, straight off the rooks, hopefully, for white.
Instead of bishop e3, he could play something like g3, just overprotecting the f4 pawn and free his queen so that then it could go anywhere. It doesn't have to defend the f4 pawn. And
Oh,
the main idea is to keep black's bishop on d2 because this bishop is uh, awkwardly placed. It's almost trapped. So
yeah,
looking at it, you don't really want to trade it.
yeah.
Um,
Maybe in this
but we
position,
can't.
on e3 and then queen e2.
But we can't criticize Lenier for playing bishop e3 because bishop e3 is a very practical move. You trade more pieces, then it's easier to play.
Mhm.
Less chances for a mouse slip, perhaps. That also happens
Exactly.
sometimes.
Yeah, and he is getting low on time, so to simplify the position and safeguard the win would be the right choice here. Yeah. Queen b5. Okay, takes. Okay, it's not over yet. Oh, okay.
Rook d1.
Yes, let's trade everything. Just,
Look at this.
yeah, it's such a good choice. It's simply don't make any problems. Don't create any problems for yourself. Just exchange everything and claim the win. Yeah, it looks really good. Good practical choice at least. He takes and g5. No, first queen c4. I'm expecting a g5 move at some point. To
From one of the sides, if it was white to move, then white could just play g5 and black can forget about any kind of counterplay. But if black went g5, I believe Lanier would have played g3, just protecting everything.
now simply queen f3 or queen d3 perhaps. Maybe
Queen
even
b3. Change everything. No, b3 first.
three, just making a safe square for your king. Even if black can start checking you over there, white is very comfortable with a draw. So looks
And
very
now queen d6 may be kind of a threat because after queen comes to d6, after queen becomes active, then all these perpetual checks are in the air. Maybe even now queen d6.
yeah, exactly. King
Is
is
it a draw?
so let's put that on the board. G takes queen here is already a draw, and Linear would be of course very happy with a draw.
He did play Queen D6.
White's better. That's true. But okay, it's not about winning this game. It's about winning the match. So yeah.
Very, very practical. Trading the bishops, then trading the rooks, then Queen D6. Again, objectively not the best, but practically amazingly marvelous, if I can say so. Just not giving any chances to your opponent.
So maybe a move like King C8 and King B7 to try and win this position.
The pawn on A6 will be hanging with a check.
Yeah, there are so many threats in the position as well. I think we can almost call it, and I think it's almost over. Yeah, there you go. G takes F4 played. We can expect a draw here now, and then it should be over. All right. Congratulations to Lenier Dominguez, who wins the finals. Of the 31st edition of the Leon Masters. So, congrats to him. Just straightforward play. I think in all the games, we said this before. He never made any mistake. He was very solid, and in the last two games, he just dominated. His third game, that was the most critical game, I believe, where Santos had difficulties. Putting his knight on the right square. There was some problems with the piece coordination, and Dominguez took brilliant advantage of the lack of coordination from White. Yeah.
Many instructive games today, many nice ideas. I believe our viewers got acquainted with some of the ideas in different pawn structures, in different openings, and very nice play by Dominguez today. Congrats to him on winning this match and the tournament overall. Well done.
Yes. So we're going to take a short break, everyone. We'll be back shortly, and we're going to see if we can get the winner online for an interview. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you soon.
See you.
And we are back, everyone, and we are very happy to say that we've got Lenier here in the broadcast with us. So, congratulations, first of all, and yeah, what are your general thoughts about the match? And your
Well,
opponent?
thank you. Yeah, I think it was very interesting match. Like all the games were uh, very tense and interesting. I think I was getting mostly nice positions out of the opening, so I was feeling pretty comfortable. But then he was fighting all the time and finding resources. So I think obviously game three was
Yeah.
key for me. I think I played quite well and won a nice game, and basically that was the game that decided the match.
Yeah, we wanted to ask you about the preparation because the first game, the last game, and the third game seem to be all very well prepared. Did you prepare especially for this match?
I mean, I was looking at some possibilities for this match, but they didn't really happen. So I was just playing something. I was trying to play fast, although I didn't especially remember the opening details. But I was trying not to get too low on time. But fortunately, I was getting good positions, so it was not that difficult in that sense.
Yeah, Gemma was playing very fast. He was always in control there. Um, yeah, so game three was the most critical line, and I was thinking that his mistake was probably the move G3, where he gave you all this white square domination. Do you think the same way?
Yeah, G3 it's weakening a lot. Yeah, but on the other hand, I think after D4 E4, I felt that Black was doing really well. Maybe even better because I mean it's very hard for him to make a move if he doesn't play G3. I mean he cannot move the bishop on D2. So I think at that point um, it was already very tricky for him. And yeah, G3 I was also expecting because it's the somehow um, logical way to play, like to protect the knight on f4 and then try to move the bishop. But yeah, it looks like the position it's anyway very dangerous for white, and I have this plan with g5, which I think it's the key because I was also trying to make d3 work in some lines and some tactics with knight takes d3 and then even knight f3 check or bishop takes e4. But then I realized that I didn't need to I mean to do this. I could just play more normal, and it was still a big advantage for me. So I think at that point it was already kind of unpleasant for him.
All right. Yeah, we figured the same thing. Yeah, that G5 was a big plan there. We even considered that, especially after G3, White maybe should have sacrificed a pawn with knight D5, but since
Yes.
your position was so solid, it looked like you still had the upper hand even after that.
Yeah, definitely. And there's always this idea with rook takes d5, like in the game. But maybe if he plays knight d5 in a real, I mean in a good moment, is maybe able to like give a pawn and try to hold. But as I said, it was already quite unpleasant.
Yeah.
Lenya, thanks for your explanations and congrats on winning the match and the tournament overall. It was a pleasure to look at your games and comment on them. And I really like your concrete approach to the opening lines. And in fact, I think to every kind of a position. So I have got kind of a question. Was this approach influenced by after your working after your cooperation with Fabiano Caruana, because I believe he has a very similar approach to the opening lines.
Well, yeah, I mean, it definitely helps to when you prepare at such a high level, you get many ideas. But yeah, mostly I was actually working a lot for just to be able to play tournaments this year, and then yeah, the whole crisis came and not too many opportunities to play. But yeah, it's thanks a lot, and I'm definitely happy to be able to win such an important tournament like Leon, especially in such a difficult year like this one.
Yes, congratulations once again, and yeah, thank you for coming on this interview. Yeah, we have a schedule to keep, unfortunately, and I think you do too. You also have to answer some questions in Spanish, I believe, on the YouTube channel that's also covering
Yes.
it. So,
Yeah, we would like to keep you longer, but unfortunately we can't. Thanks again for your matches. Congrats again for your winning the tournament, and good luck in the next ones.
Thank you.
all right. Yeah, his explanation was very straightforward. Yeah, I think we were right with the move G3 in the third game there, which was, yeah, probably the biggest mistake. But yeah, Gemma put up a great fight in the finals, and of course also yesterday against this match. Not yesterday, the day before against this match, with his match against Shirov, obviously. And okay, we are going on a small break once again. And after the break, we actually have Gemma with us. So don't go anywhere.
Nice. We will have one more interview. Stay tuned.
Hello, everyone. As mentioned, we are back with Santos, who just finished his match against Linia Dominguez. Yeah, what are your thoughts about the match in general? How did it go?
Well, first of all, I would like to congratulate Lenier because I think he played very well today. I think he didn't give me a lot of chances. I think in the second game and the third game, I just got very bad position after the opening, and I he played very well both games. In the second game, I was very lucky to draw because I am not sure, but he has to be winning at some point for sure.
We were thinking the same thing. Yeah, we didn't exactly know how, but I think it concerned in the rook ending that at some point the rook was going to move to e7, and then that white could go for the e5 pawn at some point.
Yes, at some point, yes. I think he had one rook e7 at some point, and yes. But before the rook endgame, I think he should be much better, of course, also.
So then the critical game, of course, game 3, the first decisive game in the match. What are your thoughts on that game?
Well, I think in the opening, after bishop b7, I think I should play knight b5 and change the dark square bishops. I don't know why I didn't do it. I don't know why. And later, queen c2, I think is not very good move, and from there, I think he played very well. I don't know if I have any chance at some point, but I think he played really well that game.
Yeah, we thought so too. After rook takes d5, of course. Yeah, we were thinking that maybe g3 was not the best move there because of the weakening of the white squares.
Yes, of course. But d3 was coming in many variations. After knight d3, knight queen e4 was coming, attacking mate on g2. The bishop on e2 was hanging also, and I don't know. Maybe there is another better possibility. But
a very unpleasant position in any case. Yeah, d3 had to be calculated almost at every move, I believe. Yeah, and then game 4. Yeah, you went for a Sicilian Taimanov, and yeah, things got very complicated. What was your strategy there? What was your general thoughts?
Well, in the opening, he played bishop d2, which I didn't knew. I only knew bishop g1 and d5, which I think are the main options. And after bishop d2, I don't know. I have no idea. So I played. I think I got a good position after the opening, but no more than that. I don't think I have advantage at any point. So I don't know. I think he played very correct.
Yeah.
Jaime, I know you're a bit sad, and of course it's unpleasant to lose the game, but congrats on making it to the final. And you really defended well, and you are really fighting well in the game 4. Of course, it's very difficult to win with black against such a strong player as Lenier, but congrats on what you have achieved. And I have only one question. What was your strategy for today's match in general, and what did you think about the opening? Because in every opening you went for some sharp lines where knowing the theory precisely was essential, and we know that Lenier is the one who is very well prepared and who knows the openings very well. So did you do it on purpose, or did you expect this would be expected by your opponent if you try to go into some direct lines? What did you think about that?
Well, I know that Lenier is very well prepared in game 1, for example. I think until move 20 or something like that, everything is theory. Well, I played a novelty, and he played all the best moves. And it just that end game is almost a draw. It's very equal that position. And in the second game, I think I forgot about the preparation, and I got a worse position, and also in the third game. In general, I am happy about my play in this tournament, but I think just that Lenier today played very well. That's it.
Yeah, it's difficult to face such a strong opponent. But what was your overall idea about the match? Did you want to move it to the Blitz games if that was possible, or you wanted to try to
Well,
win the Rapid games?
well, Lenier, I think, is one of the top players in Rapid of Elo Rapid. So I, of course, I think I am good at Blitz, so I think I would have more chances in Blitz, but obviously it was going to be very tough to get to Blitz, obviously.
Yeah, I see.
First 4 tough rapid matches ahead, of course. Well, thank you for coming on this broadcast with us. And yeah, as Anna said, well done on reaching the finals, and yeah, congrats on a good tournament in general, I would say.
Yes,
Thank
and
you.
good luck in your next games, the next tournaments.
Thank you.
Yes, and that is a wrap, Anna. The tournament is over. We've got a winner with Lenier Dominguez. And yeah, 3 exciting match days that has now come to a close. Yeah, what
And
are your
it was all so quickly for me. All these hours ran like in a few minutes. It was really exciting. It was a pleasure to comment on the games. Thank you, Roland, for being my partner today in this show. And we would like to say a few words about the tournament and about other activities, because the main tournament is over. But there is a simul of Lenier Dominguez, which starts tomorrow at 6:30 p.m., I believe. And moreover, there is an open tournament starting the day after tomorrow on July 14th. I think it's open for everyone. Yeah, here we have the schedule. Everyone may see it and join the events. And in general, I would like to thank the organizers once again. Huge thanks to the organizers of the Leon Masters for launching this tournament, for keeping the tradition even in these difficult times, and for making such a fest for the chess lovers. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. That is something that we cannot do enough, of course. The organizers found a way to let the tournament continue. And in an online chess, something, yeah, that we also maybe must say, chess has been booming. It's online chess has had a great popularity nowadays. And yeah, because of tournaments like this as well. So that is going to be it for this broadcast. I want to thank everyone for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. And of course, Anne, I also want to thank you for being my partner as well on this event. It was a joy to be commentating with you. And yeah, I'll give the final words to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone who was watching us today. I hope you enjoyed the games and enjoyed the commentary. We will be back for the new events, so stay tuned. There will be definitely other tournaments online starting soon. So see you soon.